Every wolf finds their mate, its destiny written in the stars, blessed by the moon goddess herself. That's what Kira's mother whispered to her every night before she died. But when you're the only wolf in your pack without a wolf form, you learn that destiny has favorites and you're not one of them. My name is Kira Ashwood, and tonight was supposed to be the most important night of my life. The mating ceremony. The night when unmated wolves from packs across the territory gather under the full moon, hoping to feel that sacred pull toward their fated mate. Every wolf over 18 is invited. Every wolf gets their chance. Every wolf except me. You're not attending. Alpha Marcus didn't even look up from his desk when he said it, just signed another document while my world crumbled. It's already been decided, but it's my right, I whispered, hating how small my voice sounded. I'm 22. I've waited. You've waited for a wolf that will never come. His eyes finally met mine, cold as winter stone. You're wolfless, Kira. An embarrassment. Do you know what the other packs will think if they see you there? If they realize the Ashwood pack harbors a defective wolf? Defective. The word he'd called me since my 18th birthday came and went without a transformation. Since every full moon after that passed in silence while the others howled in joy. The Luna. I tried again. My mate agrees with me. He stood, towering over me. Serena understands what you refuse to accept. You don't belong at a ceremony for real wolves. You'll stay in the pack house, out of sight. That's final. I should have known better than to hope. Should have known that my stepsister Vanessa's sweet smile this morning was poison wrapped in sugar. Don't worry, Kira. She'd purred while adjusting her ceremonial dress, the one I'd helped her choose. I'm sure the moon goddess has a plan for you. Maybe. As a servant? Someone has to serve the mated pairs their celebration wine. The pack had laughed. Even the Omega wolves, the lowest ranked, had laughed at me, because I wasn't just wolfless. I was nothing. But tonight, while the entire territory gathered for the ceremony, while Alpha Marcus presented his perfect daughter to visiting alphas, while Vanessa hunted for the most powerful mate she could sink her claws into, something would happen that none of them expected. The Alpha King himself would arrive, and he would ask one simple question that would shatter everything. Where is Kira Ashwood? Let me take you back to where this all began. 3 months before the ceremony that would change everything, the Ashwood pack wasn't always my prison. Once, when my mother was alive, it was home. She was human, a rarity in the wolf world, but Alpha Marcus's first true love. He'd chosen her over his arranged mate, scandalizing the pack elders. For 5 beautiful years, I had a father who looked at me like I hung the moon. Then Mom died in a car accident when I was 7, and everything changed. Within 6 months, Marcus took Serena as his Luna, a pure-blooded alpha female from the Silver Crest pack. She came with a daughter, Vanessa. Perfect, golden Vanessa, with her honey-blonde hair and wolf form so stunning that visiting alphas wrote poems about her silver-white fur. You understand, Kira, Marcus had said the night he introduced them, his hand already on Serena's waist, already forgetting my mother. The pack needs a true Luna, needs strong leadership. What he meant was, you and your human mother were a mistake, I'm correcting. I was 7. I didn't understand. I just knew that suddenly I had a new mother who looked at me like I was a stain on her expensive carpet, and a new sister who smiled while stealing my toys, my room, my father's attention. It's okay, I told myself through the years. When I turn 18, when I shift for the first time, everything will be different. I'll be a real wolf. I'll belong. My 18th birthday came on a full moon. Perfect timing, everyone said. The moon goddess's blessing. I stood in the ceremonial circle, surrounded by pack members, feeling the moonlight on my skin. Feeling the pull, the heat, the beginning of something. Nothing happened. Give it time, the pack doctor said, concerned but not worried. Some wolves are late bloomers. 19 came. Still nothing. 20. The whispers started. Defective, broken, human-blooded. 21. The whispers became open mockery. Poor Marcus. I heard Serena tell her friends at a pack gathering. Shackled to that girl because of a dead woman's memory. If he had any sense, he'd send her to the human world where she belongs. Why doesn't he? One of her friends asked. Serena's smile was sharp. Guilt. He actually loved that human woman, can you imagine? But guilt only stretches so far. Eventually, even he'll see reason. I wasn't supposed to hear that. But wolfless or not, I'd learned to move quietly, to become invisible. Survival skills. 22 arrived 3 months ago. That's when Marcus stopped pretending. You're not attending pack runs anymore, he announced at dinner, not even looking at me while Vanessa smirked into her wine glass. It's uncomfortable for the others, having you there. Unable to participate. I help with the preparations, I said quietly. I organize the Omegas can handle that. He cut his steak with precise, violent cuts. Find something else to occupy your time. Preferably indoors. Translation. Hide yourself. You're an embarrassment. The pack felt their alpha's rejection like permission. Suddenly, I was pushed in hallways. My belongings went missing. Food portions at pack meals shrank, until I started eating alone in my room, the smallest room in the pack house, the one that used to be storage. Vanessa led the cruelty parade with artistic precision. Kira, could you help me with this zipper? She'd call sweetly in front of others, then whisper when I got close. Must be nice, not worrying about clothes. Not like you'll ever have a mate to dress up for. Or, oh, Kira, I didn't see you there. You're so quiet, like a ghost. Maybe that's what you are, the ghost of what this pack used to be before we raised the standards. The worst part? She was right about one thing. Without a wolf, I'd never feel the mating bond, never find my fated mate, never have the one thing every wolf dreams of from childhood, that perfect, destined love that completes your soul. I'd be alone forever. But I had learned something that Vanessa, in all her golden perfection, had never needed to learn. I'd learned to survive, to think, to notice things others missed while they were busy being powerful and beautiful. Like how the pack's finances didn't quite add up, something I'd seen while helping Marcus's beta with paperwork before I was banned from that too. Like how Serena received mysterious letters with a silver crest pack seal that she burned after reading. Like how Vanessa's wolf form, stunning as it was, never quite looked her in the eyes during transformations, as if wolf and human weren't fully aligned. Like how visiting alphas always commented on our territory's excellent strategic position and valuable resources, with a hunger that had nothing to do with hospitality. I collected these observations like others collected pack bonds and affection, filed them away in my mind because knowledge was the only power I had. I didn't know yet that this knowledge would save my life. 3 days ago, the announcement came. The one that set everything in motion. The Alpha King calls a gathering. The messenger declared in our pack hall, his voice carrying the weight of ancient authority. All territories will send their unmated wolves to the grand mating ceremony. 3 nights hence, under the harvest moon, by order of King Damien Blackthorn himself. The hall erupted in excitement. The Alpha King ceremony happened once every decade. Wolves who found mates there were blessed by the king himself, a bond strengthened beyond normal measure. It was the opportunity of a lifetime. We'll send our best, Marcus announced proudly, his hand on Vanessa's shoulder. She glowed under his approval, already imagining which powerful alpha she'd ensnare. I felt that treacherous thing called hope flutter in my chest. Maybe this was my chance. Maybe among hundreds of wolves from across the kingdom, there might be just one who could be mine. Wolf or no wolf. Maybe the moon goddess hadn't forgotten me after all. That night, I knocked on Marcus's office door. That's when he said it. You're not attending. And my hope died quietly. Like it always did, while Vanessa probably heard through the door and smiled. If stories like Kira's remind you that worth isn't determined by others' cruelty, subscribe if you haven't to join others who believe hidden strength deserves recognition, because sometimes the wolves who can't howl learn to bite the hardest. Chapter 1. The Night of Broken Chains. The pack house was emptying like a sinking ship, and I was the only rat staying behind. From my tiny window, the one that overlooked the servants' entrance because of course it did, I watched them leave. Wolves dressed in their ceremonial finest, laughing and jostling each other with excited energy. The unmated ones practically vibrated with anticipation. Tonight, under the harvest moon, they might find their forever. Vanessa emerged like a queen, gracing peasants with her presence. Her dress was custom-made, a flowing silver creation that caught the moonlight and made her look ethereal. Her blonde hair was twisted into an intricate crown braid, woven with actual diamonds. Actual diamonds. I'd helped pay for those diamonds, actually. Well, my mother's inheritance had. The one Marcus controlled for my own good, until I turned 25. The one that seemed to shrink every year while Vanessa's wardrobe expanded. "You look stunning, darling," Serena cooed, adjusting a diamond that didn't need adjusting. "Every unmated alpha will fall at your feet, not just unmated alphas, mother." Vanessa's smile was sharp enough to cut. "I heard the Alpha King himself might be in attendance. Not to participate, of course he's too important for that, but to observe. To bless the bonds. King Damien Blackthorn." Serena's eyes glittered with calculation. Unmated still, despite being 30. If you could catch his eye. A Luna Queen. Vanessa's voice dripped with ambition. "I like the sound of that." They both laughed, that tinkling sound that always made my skin crawl, and swept toward the convoy of cars waiting to transport the pack to the ceremony grounds 3 hours away. Marcus emerged last, looking every inch the alpha in his formal attire. He paused, sniffed the air, then looked directly up at my window. For a moment, just a flash, I saw something in his eyes. Regret? Guilt? Then it was gone, replaced by cold dismissal. He turned away and climbed into his car. The convoy pulled away, taillights disappearing into the darkness like dying stars. Silence fell over the pack house like a burial shroud. I was alone. Completely, utterly alone. Even the Omegas had been allowed to attend as servants. Even the elderly wolves who could barely shift anymore had been invited to witness and bless the bonds. Everyone except me. I stood at that window for a long time, watching the empty driveway, feeling something inside me finally, irreversibly break. Not my heart that had been breaking in pieces for years. This was something deeper, something fundamental. My hope, my last, stubborn, idiotic hope that somehow, someday, I would be enough. "You're not enough," I whispered to my reflection in the dark glass. "You'll never be enough. Not for them, not for anyone." The girl staring back at me looked like a ghost, pale skin from spending too much time indoors, hiding, dark hair that I'd stopped bothering to style because, what was the point? Gray eyes that used to spark with determination, but now just looked tired. Hollow. I was 22 and I looked haunted. "This is your life now," I told that ghost girl. "Invisible. Forgotten. Alone. Get used to it." But something happened then. Something I didn't expect. That ghost girl's eyes flashed. Not with hope, hope was dead. With something harder. Angrier. Rage. Pure, molten rage that I'd been swallowing down for 14 years. Ever since Serena walked into our lives and began systematically erasing my mother's memory, my place, my worth. Rage at Marcus for being too weak to fight for me the way he'd fought for my mother. Rage at Vanessa for making cruelty into an art form. Rage at the moon goddess herself. For making me this way, wolfless, mateless, powerless. But most of all, rage at myself. For accepting it. For bowing my head and taking their scraps and saying, "Thank you for the privilege of being tolerated in a pack that should have been partly mine." "No more," I heard myself say. "No more." I didn't plan what happened next. Didn't think it through. If I had, I probably would have talked myself out of it. Because that's what I did. I made myself smaller, quieter, less. But rage doesn't think. It acts. I grabbed my jacket, not a nice one. I didn't own nice things anymore, and walked out of my room. Down the stairs where I'd learned to skip the third step because it creaked. Through the kitchen, where I'd eaten alone for months. Out the back door that no one watched because who would bother guarding against me? The forest waited beyond the pack house, dark and deep and full of the sounds of normal wolves running with their packs on ceremony night. I walked into it anyway. I had no plan. No destination. I just walked. Branches catching my clothes. Roots trying to trip me. The darkness pressing in from all sides. A wolf would have navigated this easily. Senses sharp, night vision clear. I stumbled and scraped my hands and didn't care. Maybe I'd get lost. Maybe I'd die out here, Would they even notice? Would Marcus feel that alpha bond to his pack member and realize I was missing? Probably not. He'd stopped feeling that bond to me years ago, if it ever existed at all. I walked for what felt like hours, but was probably only 45 minutes. The ceremony grounds were 3 hours by car, but they were heading to the king's territory, to the ancient ceremonial site where the first wolves were blessed. I was just walking into our own territory's forest, going nowhere, achieving nothing. The story of my life. I finally stopped in a clearing, chest heaving, hands bleeding from where thorns had caught me, and screamed. Just screamed. No words. Just all that rage and pain and loneliness ripping out of my throat into the uncaring night. The forest absorbed it like it absorbed everything indifferent, eternal, vast. I sank to my knees in the moss, shoulders shaking, and that's when I heard it. Not a sound, a feeling. Like the air pressure changing before a storm. Like the moment before lightning strikes. Like the world holding its breath. The hair on the back of my neck stood up, a primal warning that something powerful was near. I scrambled to my feet, heart hammering, and that's when I saw them. Eyes. Glowing in the darkness between the trees. Not the yellow gold of normal wolves. Silver. Pure, metallic silver. Like moonlight made solid. And they were looking right at me. Who's there? My voice shook, but I held my ground. What else could I do? Run? I couldn't outrun a wolf. Fight? I had no wolf to fight with. The eyes moved closer, and a shape materialized from the shadows. A wolf. But not like any wolf I'd ever seen. It was massive, easily twice the size of a normal alpha wolf. Its fur was black as midnight but seemed to shimmer with that same silver light emanating from its eyes. Power radiated off it in waves that made my knees weak, made every instinct I possessed scream at me to bow, to submit, to acknowledge the apex predator in front of me. But I'd bowed enough for one lifetime. I'm not afraid of you. I lied through my teeth. The wolf's head tilted, studying me with an intelligence that was distinctly human. Then, impossibly, it began to shift. I'd seen hundreds of shifts. They were always the same. A brief shimmer, a fluid transformation, and then a naked human standing where the wolf had been. Most wolves carried clothes tied around their legs for this reason. This shift was different. The air itself seemed to bend around the wolf. Silver light exploded outward, forcing me to shield my eyes. When I lowered my hand, a man stood in the clearing, and not just any man. He was tall, at least 6'4", with a build that spoke of deadly power barely contained. Black hair that looked like he'd been running his hands through it. Sharp, angular features that were somehow both beautiful and harsh. And those eyes, still silver, still glowing faintly, fixed on me with an intensity that made me feel naked despite being fully clothed. He was also completely nude, because shifting destroyed clothes. But he wore it like armor, completely unbothered. Utterly confident. I tried very hard to keep my eyes on his face. "You're on my territory," he said, and his voice was like whiskey and smoke, dark, smooth, dangerous. My territory. Not pack territory. Pack lands were communal, belonging to the pack as a whole. Only one kind of wolf spoke like that. "You're the Alpha King," I whispered. His lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Damien Blackthorn. And you're Kira Ashwood." The world tilted. He knew my name. The Alpha King knew my name. "How do you?" I started, then stopped, because my brain was too busy short-circuiting to form complete sentences. "I was heading to my own ceremony," he said, moving closer with a predator's grace. "The one your entire pack is currently attending. The one you should be at." Each step closer made my heart pound harder. Not from fear, exactly, though there was that. From something else. Something that made my skin feel too tight and my breath come too fast. "I wasn't invited," I managed to say. His eyes flashed with something dangerous. "Explain." It wasn't a request. It was a command from a king to a subject, weighted with an alpha power so strong it made my knees actually buckle. I caught myself on a tree, forcing myself to stay upright, and suddenly all that rage came flooding back. Why should I? The words came out sharper than I intended. "You're the Alpha King. I'm nobody, wolfless, defective, an embarrassment. At least, that's what my alpha says." So why would you care if I was invited or not? Silence fell over the clearing, heavy and dangerous. I just snapped at the Alpha King. The most powerful wolf in the kingdom, the one who could end my life with a thought, who commanded ultimate authority over every pack, who I should be bowing to and calling, Your Majesty. Instead, I just mouthed off to him while covered in dirt and bleeding from thorn scratches in the middle of his forest, without an ounce of proper respect. My mother would be horrified, but my mother was dead, and I was so tired of being respectful to people who didn't respect me back. Damien Blackthorne stared at me for a long moment. Then he did something I didn't expect. He threw back his head and laughed. It was a real laugh, deep and genuine, and it transformed his harsh features into something almost warm. Almost. Wolfless, he repeated, still chuckling. Is that what they told you? It's what I am, I said bitterly. I never shifted. 18 came and went. 19. 20. 21. 22. No wolf. No bond to the pack. Nothing. Interesting. He moved closer still, now only a few feet away, and suddenly I was very aware of his size, his power, his nakedness. Tell me, Kira Ashwood, do you know why some wolves don't shift on their 18th birthday? Late bloomers? I offered weakly. Sometimes. His silver eyes bore into mine. Or suppressants. The word hung in the air between us like a bomb waiting to explode. Suppressants, I repeated slowly. Those are illegal. The council banned them 50 years ago after Port of Tace. After too many ambitious wolves used them to prevent rivals from shifting, Damien finished. To keep power concentrated, to eliminate threats. He took another step closer, and I could feel the heat radiating off his skin. Tell me, who prepares your food? My mind raced. The pack kitchen, but who specifically? I eat mostly in my room now. Vanessa usually brings dye. I stopped, the words dying in my throat. Vanessa, who'd been so sweet about bringing me dinner these past 4 years. You shouldn't have to eat with the pack if they're mean to you, Kira. I'll bring you something. Vanessa, who always made sure my plate was specially prepared. No, I whispered. She wouldn't. Why would she? Why would your stepsister want to keep you powerless? Damien's voice was soft but sharp. You're the Alpha's daughter. Trueborn, even if half-human. If you shifted, especially if you shifted into a strong wolf, you'd be a threat to her position. To her mother's position. The pieces clicked into place with horrifying clarity. The way Vanessa always insisted on preparing my plate herself at pack dinners, before I started eating alone. The special supplements Serena had insisted I take for my health starting at age 17. The way they'd both looked, almost relieved each birthday when I didn't shift, despite their fake sympathy. 4 years, I said, my voice hollow. They've been poisoning me for 4 years. Probably longer. Suppressants work best if started before the first shift. Damien's expression was carved from ice. They've been stealing your wolf from you, Kira. Keeping you weak. Keeping you nothing. Something inside me cracked wide open. All those years. All that pain. All that believing I was broken. Defective. Wrong. I wasn't broken. I was sabotaged. I'm going to kill them. I heard myself say calmly. I'm going to shift into whatever wolf I am, and I'm going to rip out their throats. Good, Damien said, and his smile was all teeth. But first, you're coming with me. Where? To the ceremony. His eyes glinted with something that might have been satisfaction, or might have been vengeance, hard to tell. Where I'm going to ask a very simple question in front of every alpha in my kingdom. Where is Kira Ashwood? And despite everything, despite the rage and the pain and the betrayal, I felt my lips curve into a smile that probably looked as dangerous as his. They banned me from the ceremony, I said. Said I'd be an embarrassment. Oh, you'll be present at this ceremony, Kira. Damien extended his hand to me, and even though he was still completely naked, and I was a mess, and nothing about this situation made sense, I took it. And when your alpha has to explain to his king why he banned his own daughter from a royal summons, we'll see who's embarrassed. His hand was warm and rough, and the moment our skin touched, I felt it. A spark. A pulse. like electricity running under my skin, like recognition, no, it couldn't be. I was wolfless. I couldn't feel the mate bond. That was impossible. But Damien's eyes widened slightly, his grip on my hand tightening, and I knew he felt it too. Well, he said softly, dangerously. This just got interesting. Chapter 2. The King's Claim. I can't go to the ceremony like this, I said, finally finding my voice and trying very hard to ignore the fact that the Alpha King was still holding my hand, and still very much naked. I'm covered in dirt and blood, and you'll go exactly like this, Damien interrupted, his thumb brushing against my palm in a way that sent shivers up my arm. Covered in the evidence of what they've done to you. Let every alpha in my kingdom see what happens when a pack alpha abuses his authority. But, do you trust me, Kira? It was an absurd question. I'd known him for all of 10 minutes. He was the Alpha King, the most powerful, dangerous wolf in existence. Trust him? But when I looked into those silver eyes, I saw something that made my breath catch. Fury. Not at me. For me. The kind of protective rage that I'd spent years dreaming my father might show. I don't know you well enough to trust you, I said honestly. But I trust that you're angry about what they did. And right now, that's enough. His smile was sharp and approving. Smart girl. Now, we need to move quickly. The ceremony has already begun, and I need to make an entrance at precisely the right moment for maximum impact. You planned this, I realized. You knew I'd be here. I suspected. He finally released my hand, and I hated how much I missed the contact immediately. I've been investigating your pack for months. Discrepancies in territory reports, unusual financial transactions, complaints from border packs about Ashwood wolves crossing boundaries without permission. Your alpha has been sloppy. Marcus is a lot of things, but sloppy isn't usually one of them. He is when he's distracted by a manipulative mate and an ambitious daughter. Damien moved to where he'd apparently stashed clothes behind a tree, because of course he had, and began dressing with efficient movements. Serena comes from Silvercrest, yes? Yes. How did you langer? Silvercrest has been trying to expand their territory for decades. Marriages are their favorite tactic. Serena's older sister married into the Western Ridge pack 15 years ago. Within 5 years, Western Ridge's alpha mysteriously died, and his son, Serena's nephew, took over. Western Ridge is now functionally controlled by Silvercrest. I watched him button a black shirt that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. You think they're trying to do the same with Ashwood? I think Serena saw an opportunity when your mother died and took it. A grieving alpha with a half-human daughter and substantial territory? Perfect target. He pulled on pants with the same efficient grace. The question is whether Marcus is a willing participant or a useful fool. He loved my mother, I said quietly. Really loved her. I remember how he looked at her. Like she was his whole world. Love makes people weak. Damien's voice was matter of fact, not cruel. It makes them vulnerable to manipulation, especially when they're grieving. Serena probably played the role of comforter, helper, savior. By the time Marcus realized what was happening, she'd already positioned herself as indispensable. It made horrible sense. I remembered those early months after Mom died. Marcus had been shattered, barely functional. Serena had swept in like a storm of efficiency, organizing everything, handling everything, making all the decisions he was too grief-stricken to make, including decisions about me. Why do you care? I asked suddenly. You're the Alpha King. You have bigger problems than one wolfless girl in one small pack. Damien paused in the act of pulling on boots, and looked at me with those unsettling silver eyes. Do you know what my father told me when I took the throne? I shook my head. He said, a king who ignores injustice in small places will eventually face revolution in large ones. Every pack in my kingdom needs to know that I see them, that I care about what happens to the weakest member as much as the strongest alpha. His voice dropped lower. And you're not wolfless, Kira. You're suppressed. There's a difference. How can you be sure? Because I can smell your wolf. He stood, fully dressed now in black on black, looking every inch the dangerous ruler he was. She's there, trapped, screaming to get out. The suppressants have built up in your system for years, creating a chemical cage. But she's there. My hand moved involuntarily to my chest, as if I could feel her. How long until the drugs wear off? Depends on the dosage and frequency. Could be days, could be weeks. He moved back toward me, and even fully clothed, his presence was overwhelming. But we can accelerate the process. There are treatments. Healers who specialize in this. By the next full moon, you'll shift. By the next full moon. 4 weeks away. After years of believing I was broken, I could be whole in 4 weeks. If Damien was telling the truth, if this wasn't some elaborate game, if, why should I believe you? The question came out more desperate than I intended. You could be lying. This could be a trick. I don't know you. I don't know anything except that you're powerful and I'm not. And powerful people lie to powerless people all the time. Damien studied me for a long moment. Then, he did something completely unexpected. He took my hand again and placed it over his heart. Feel that? He asked. His heartbeat was strong and steady under my palm, but that wasn't what made my breath catch. It was the warmth spreading from the point of contact. The same electric pulse I'd felt before, now stronger, more insistent. What is that? I whispered. Recognition, he said simply. The beginning of a mate bond. The world tilted again. That's impossible. I'm wolfless. I can't feel. You're suppressed, not wolfless. There's a difference. His hand covered mine, holding it against his chest. Your wolf knows me even if you don't. She recognizes her mate. That's why the bond is forming despite the drugs in your system. Because mate bonds transcend everything, pack, rank, even chemical suppression. I yanked my hand back like I'd been burned. No, that's you're the Alpha King. You can't, I can't. Can't what? Be worthy of a king? His voice was sharp. Is that what they taught you? That your worth is determined by whether you can shift? Yes. The word exploded out of me. That's exactly what they taught me. That I'm nothing without a wolf. That I'm an embarrassment. That I'll never have a mate, because what wolf would want someone broken? Tears burned in my eyes and I hated them, hated showing weakness in front of him. And now you're telling me you're my mate? The Alpha King is mated to the pack reject? That's not destiny. That's a sick joke. Damien moved faster than I could track, suddenly in my space, his hands on my shoulders, forcing me to look at him. Listen to me, Kira Ashwood, he said, his voice carrying that alpha command that made my bones vibrate. You are not broken. You are not worthless. You are the daughter of a woman brave enough to love a wolf and an alpha who once had honor. You survived 14 years of systematic abuse and suppression without breaking. You walked into a dark forest alone and faced a king without flinching. You are not nothing. You don't know me, I whispered. Not yet, he agreed. But I will. And you'll know me. Because whether you accept it today or a year from now, the moon goddess chose us for each other. That bond we both felt, it doesn't lie. I wanted to believe him. Moon goddess. I wanted to believe him so badly it hurt. But I'd spent years learning that hope was dangerous, that trust was a weapon people used against you, that good things didn't happen to girls like me. I can't think about this right now, I said, stepping back from his grip. The mate bond, the drugs, what it all means I can't. It's too much. Can we just focus on getting to the ceremony before my brain explodes? Damien watched me for a moment longer, then nodded. We'll table this discussion. For now. But Kira? He waited until I met his eyes. You can run from a lot of things. You can't run from a mate bond. Eventually, we'll have to deal with this. One crisis at a time, I muttered. His lips twitched in what might have been amusement. Fair enough, come. He started walking, and I hurried to follow, which was difficult because his legs were approximately twice as long as mine and he moved through the forest like he owned it. Which, technically, he did. How far are we from the ceremony grounds? I asked, stumbling over a route in the darkness. On foot? About 20 miles. He glanced back at me. Don't worry. We're not walking. Then how? A howl cut through the night, then another, then a dozen more, rising in a chorus that made my chest ache with longing for something I'd never had. Wolves emerged from the darkness between the trees, massive, powerful, deadly. Their eyes glowed various shades of gold and amber as they formed a circle around us. I froze, every survival instinct screaming danger. "Easy," Damien said, his hand finding mine again. "They're mine, my personal guard." As if responding to his words, the wolves bowed their heads in submission. All except one. This wolf was almost as large as Damien's form had been, with dark gray fur and scars across its muzzle that spoke of many battles. It padded forward and shifted in that same shimmer of light. A man emerged, middle-aged, built like a tank, with a face that had been broken and reset multiple times. He pulled on pants he'd had tied around his leg, and bowed to Damien. "Your Majesty, we've been tracking you since you shifted direction." "Of course you have, Garrett." Damien's tone was fond despite his words. "May I present Kira Ashwood?" "Kira, this is Garrett Stone, captain of my guard and the biggest mother hen you'll ever meet." Garrett's eyes landed on me, and I saw them widen slightly as he took in my appearance. Dirt, blood, torn clothes, and the fact that I was standing next to his king, while said king held my hand. To his credit, he didn't comment, just bowed his head to me respectfully. "Miss Ashwood." "Just Kira," I said weakly. "Please. We need to reach the ceremony grounds immediately," Damien said. "I assume you brought vehicles?" 3 SUVs, parked half a mile north. Garrett's eyes flicked between us. "Sir, if I may ask." "You may not." Damien's voice carried finality. "You'll know everything when everyone else does. For now, we move." The wolves shifted back, and suddenly we were surrounded by naked men and women pulling on clothes with practiced efficiency. They formed a protective formation around us, Garrett at the front, and we started moving. I'd seen pack formations before, but never like this. These wolves moved like a military unit, completely silent, completely coordinated. Every sound in the forest was assessed, every shadow checked. These weren't just guards. They were elite warriors, and they were protecting me. "Why aren't they questioning this?" I whispered to Damien as we walked. "I'm nobody. Why would your guards protect me like I'm important?" "Because you're with me," he said simply. "That makes you important. And..." He hesitated, which seemed unusual for him. "They can probably smell the beginning of the mate bond. It leaves a scent, mingles our pheromones." My face went hot. "You mean they all know we're Anna, potentially mated?" "Yes." He didn't sound bothered. "They won't speak of it until I confirm it publicly, but yes, they know." "Great, just great." The Alpha King's elite guard thought I was their future queen, and I looked like I'd been dragged through a forest backward. Which, to be fair, I basically had been. We reached the SUVs, sleek black monsters that probably cost more than my entire pack house, and piled in. I ended up in the back seat next to Damien, with Garrett driving and 2 other guards in the front passenger seat and the 3rd row. The moment the door closed, Damien's hand found mine again in the darkness. "You're shaking," he observed quietly. "I'm about to walk into a room full of alphas who think I'm nothing, accompanied by the Alpha King, to publicly confront my father about being poisoned and suppressed for years." My voice came out higher than normal. "Of course I'm shaking. I should be vibrating out of my skin. They don't think you're nothing. They will when they see me." I gestured to my appearance. "I'm the wolfless reject who wasn't even invited. I'm the joke. The embarrassment. You're the survivor," Damien corrected. "And by the time this night is over, everyone in that room will know exactly what you survived. They'll know what was done to you, and they'll know that you're under my protection now." "Your protection?" His silver eyes caught the passing streetlights, making them glow. "Mine. Anyone who touches you, insults you, or so much as looks at you wrong, will answer to me." "That's not a threat, Kira. It's a promise." The way he said it with absolute certainty and deadly intent should have scared me. Instead, it made me feel something I hadn't felt in years. Safe. We drove in silence for a while, the forest giving way to more developed areas, then to the outskirts of the king's territory. I could see lights in the distance, bright and numerous. "That's the ceremonial grounds," Garrett said from the front. "Looks like the gathering is in full attendance. I'd estimate 300 wolves. Maybe more." 300. Moon Goddess. Kira. Damien's voice pulled my attention back to him. When we arrive, you stay close to me. Don't speak unless I indicate you should. Don't react to anything your pack says or does. Just stand there and let me handle it. I don't need you to fight my battles, I said, that familiar, stubborn pride rising up. Tonight you do. His grip on my hand tightened. Because this isn't just about you anymore. This is about every wolf in my kingdom knowing that suppressants will not be tolerated. That abuse of pack members will be investigated and punished. That rank doesn't put anyone above the law. You're my evidence, Kira, my proof. Let me use that to make sure this never happens to anyone else. Put that way, it made sense. This was bigger than my personal revenge, though I still really wanted to rip out Vanessa's throat. Okay, I agreed. I'll follow your lead. But after you've made your point then, can I tell them exactly what I think of them? Damien's smile was sharp and approving. After I've made my point, you can burn your bridges however you want. I'll even provide the matches. The SUV slowed as we approached a massive gate, flanked by guards who immediately snapped to attention when they saw the vehicles. The gate swung open without question. We drove through grounds that looked like something from a fairy tale. Ancient trees dripping with silver and gold decorations, pathways lit by thousands of glowing orbs. And at the center, a massive open pavilion where I could see hundreds of wolves gathered. The ceremony, my ceremony. The one I should have been at from the beginning. Are you ready? Damien asked as we pulled to a stop near the pavilion's entrance. Was I ready to face my pack? To confront Marcus? To stand in front of 300 wolves while looking like a disaster and feeling like my entire world was imploding? No, absolutely not. But I'd survived 14 years of abuse, 4 years of being slowly poisoned, and 22 years of believing I was fundamentally broken. I could survive this. Let's go ruin some lives, I said. Damien's laugh was low and dangerous. That's my girl. The guards exited first, forming a protective formation. Then Damien stepped out, moving around the vehicle to open my door himself. He extended his hand to me, and I took it, letting him help me out of the SUV. The moment I stood, I heard it. Music. Laughter. The ceremony in full swing. And then, cutting through it all, a voice I knew all too well, Vanessa's. Father, tell them about the time Kira tried to join a pack run and got lost for 6 hours. Laughter rippled through the pavilion, cruel, mocking laughter at my expense. Something in my chest, something that had been barely holding together, finally shattered. Damien, I said quietly. Yes? Burn it all down. His smile was savage and beautiful. With pleasure. He placed his hand on the small of my back and guided me forward, toward the lights and laughter and the pack that had thrown me away. Toward my reckoning. Chapter 3. The Reckoning. The pavilion was magnificent in a way that made my breath catch despite everything. Crystal chandeliers hung from ancient oak branches, casting rainbow light across hundreds of wolves dressed in their finest ceremonial attire. The air hummed with power. So many alphas in one place created a pressure that would have brought weaker wolves to their knees. I felt it like a physical weight, but I kept walking. Damien's hand on my back was a steady anchor, warm and grounding. His guards flanked us in a formation that screamed importance, danger, royalty. People were starting to notice. Conversations stuttered and died as we passed. Heads turned, eyes widened. I heard the whispers start like wildfire spreading through dry grass. Is that the king? King Damien is here? Why is he who's that with him? She looks like she crawled through a forest. Is that blood on her hands? We walked through the crowd like a knife through silk, everything parting before us. Some wolves bowed their heads in respect. Others stared in confusion or curiosity. And then I saw them, my pack, gathered in a prime section near the front. Dressed in coordinated silver and blue ashwood pack colors, Marcus stood with other alphas, his chest puffed out with pride, clearly enjoying his position among the powerful. Serena held court with a group of Luna females, her laugh artificial and too loud. And Vanessa, perfect, beautiful Vanessa, stood surrounded by unmated alphas like a queen with her courtiers, wearing that diamond-studded dress and a smile that could cut glass. She was in the middle of telling another story. I could hear her clear, carrying voice even across the distance. And poor Kira actually thought she might attend tonight. Can you imagine? Father had to explicitly forbid it because she just couldn't understand that some events are for real wolves only. More laughter. Cruel, casual laughter at my expense, because I wasn't there to hear it. Because I was supposed to be locked away in the pack house, invisible and forgotten, except I wasn't. Damien's hand pressed more firmly against my back. A silent question. Ready? I nodded, not trusting my voice. He guided me forward, directly toward the raised platform, where the ceremony's master of ceremonies, an elderly wolf named Elder Thomas, was preparing to announce the next round of potential mate introductions. We climbed the steps to the platform. That's when someone finally recognized me. Is that a young wolf from my pack? Someone who'd pushed me in hallways, who'd laughed at Vanessa's jokes at my expense. His eyes went wide. That's Kira Ashwood. The whispers exploded. Kira Ashwood? The wolfless one? What is she doing here? Why is she with the king? Marcus's head snapped toward the platform. I watched his face cycle through confusion, recognition, shock, and then something that might have been fear. Good. Elder Thomas noticed us on the platform and turned, his elderly face creasing in confusion that shifted rapidly to alarm when he recognized Damien. Your Majesty, he immediately bowed deeply. We weren't expecting that is. We're honored by your presence, but, Elder Thomas. Damien's voice cut through the rising noise like a blade. It wasn't loud, but it carried alpha command laced into every syllable, impossible to ignore. I require your attention, and the attention of every wolf present. Silence fell like a guillotine blade. 300 wolves went utterly still, every eye fixed on the platform. On Damien. On me. I'd never had so many people look at me at once. Part of me wanted to run, to hide, to make myself small and invisible like I'd learned to do. But Damien's hand was still on my back, steady and warm. And something in me, something that had been beaten down but never quite broken, lifted its head and refused to cower. I apologize for the dramatic entrance, Damien continued, his voice carrying effortlessly across the pavilion. But I've encountered a situation that requires immediate attention, a situation that, frankly, makes me question whether this ceremony should continue at all. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Canceling the ceremony? The one that happened once a decade? That was unthinkable. Marcus stepped forward from the crowd, his alpha bearing on full display. Your Majesty, I'm sure whatever concerns you have can be addressed after. Alpha Marcus Ashwood. Damien's voice dropped to something cold and dangerous. I wasn't speaking to you. In fact, you should probably be very quiet right now. Marcus's face flushed red, but he pressed his lips together. You didn't argue with the Alpha King. Not publicly. Not when he used that tone. Damien surveyed the crowd with those eerie silver eyes, letting the tension build. I came to this ceremony to observe and bless the matings, as is tradition, he said. I expected to see the best and brightest of my kingdom's unmated wolves. I expected to see honor, tradition, and respect for the moon goddess's gifts. His expression hardened. Instead, I found something that offends me deeply, a crime that strikes at the very heart of what we are as wolves. The silence was absolute. I could hear my own heartbeat, rabbit-fast in my chest. Some of you may recognize the young woman beside me, Damien continued. For those who don't, this is Kira Ashwood, daughter of Alpha Marcus Ashwood, 22 years old, and according to her pack, wolfless. The word rippled through the crowd with renewed whispers. I felt eyes crawling over me, assessing, judging, finding me wanting. Except she's not wolfless, Damien said, and his voice cracked like a whip. She's suppressed. For the past 4 to 6 years, possibly longer, someone has been dosing her with illegal suppressants, drugs banned by the council half a century ago, because they were used to eliminate rivals and consolidate power. Drugs that can cause permanent damage if used long enough. Drugs that have been slowly poisoning this young woman while her pack mocked her for being unable to shift. The pavilion erupted. Shouts of disbelief, horror, anger, alphas demanding to know who was responsible, Lunas clutching their own children closer. elder wolves shaking their heads in disgust. I watched my pack's section. Watched the Ashwood wolves' faces cycle through shock and confusion. Some looked genuinely horrified. Others looked skeptical. Vanessa had gone white as snow. Serena's face was a careful mask of shock, but her eyes were calculating, already planning her defense. Marcus looked like he'd been struck by lightning. That's impossible, Marcus managed, his voice shaking. Your Majesty, I don't know what you've been told, but Kira is simply a late bloomer, or perhaps you'd like to explain why your daughter was found wandering alone in the forest tonight, bloody and distressed, on a night when every unmated wolf in your pack was ordered to attend this ceremony? Damien's voice could have frozen fire. Why was Kira Ashwood, your legitimate daughter, banned from tonight's gathering? Marcus opened his mouth, closed it. No words came out. Let me guess, Damien continued, his tone conversational but laced with venom. She's an embarrassment. A liability. Wolfless girl reflects poorly on the Ashwood pack's reputation. Better to hide her away, keep her out of sight, pretend she doesn't exist. She was invited. Serena suddenly spoke up, stepping forward with her Luna's bearing fully engaged. Her voice rang with false concern. Of course she was invited, Your Majesty. Kira chose not to attend. She was feeling unwell, as she often does. Don't. The single word from Damien made Serena actually step back. Don't insult my intelligence by lying to my face, Luna. I can smell deception, and you reek of it. Serena's mask cracked, just a little. Kira. Damien turned to me, his voice gentler. Tell everyone here what happened tonight. This was it, my moment. Every eye in the pavilion on me, waiting. My throat felt like sandpaper. My hands were shaking. But I lifted my chin and forced myself to speak. Alpha Marcus told me 3 days ago that I wasn't allowed to attend the ceremony, I said. My voice came out quieter than I wanted, but it carried in the dead silence. He said I was an embarrassment, that other packs would think less of Ashwood if they saw a wolfless pack member. He ordered me to stay in the pack house, out of sight. That's not, Marcus started. He's not finished, Damien snapped. I took a shaky breath. I've been told my entire life that I'm defective, broken, that I'm nothing without a wolf. My stepmother and stepsister have spent years making sure I know my place. Which is nowhere. Hidden. Forgotten. Alone. My voice was getting stronger now, anger burning through the fear. I eat alone because they made pack meals unbearable. I stay in the smallest room in the pack house because my original room, my mother's room, was given to Vanessa the year after my mother died. I'm not allowed at pack runs, pack meetings, or apparently, ceremonies that every other wolf is invited to. Because I'm the embarrassment. The reject. The wolfless failure who should have had the decency to disappear. Wolves in the crowd were growling now. Low, angry sounds. Because pack was everything to wolves. Family was sacred. And what I was describing, systematic exclusion and abuse, it went against every instinct they had. And the suppressants? Elder Thomas asked, his aged voice sharp. Do you know who administered them? I looked at Vanessa, at her white face and wide eyes, and the way her hands were clenched into fists at her sides. My stepsister, I said clearly. Vanessa. She always insisted on preparing my meals personally, said she was being kind, bringing food to my room so I didn't have to face the pack. She gave me supplements that she said would help with my health, starting when I was 17, right before my 18th birthday. Every head turned to Vanessa. She laughed. Actually laughed, high and brittle and false. This is insane, she said, her voice carrying that same sweet tone she always used. Your Majesty, surely you don't believe this? She's confused. Probably attention-seeking because she's upset about missing the ceremony. I love my sister. Sister? The word came out of my mouth like poison. You've never called me sister before. You call me the wolfless one, when you think I can't hear. You've spent 4 years making my life hell while slowly poisoning me, and now you're going to stand there and claim you love me? End quote. I do love you. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. Perfect. Crystalline tears that probably looked genuine to people who didn't know her. I've tried so hard to help you, to support you, and this is how you repay me? By making up horrible lies in front of the king? She was good. Really good. I could see some wolves in the crowd wavering, uncertain. But Damien wasn't wavering. Garrett, he said calmly. The captain of the guard stepped forward, holding something in his gloved hand. A small vial of amber liquid, found in Miss Vanessa Ashwood's personal belongings, Garrett said, his voice flat and professional. While you were making your entrance, Your Majesty, I took the liberty of having my team search the Ashwood Pack's guest quarters. This was hidden in a locked case under Miss Vanessa's bed. He held up the vial. And even from where I stood, I could see the liquid inside shimmer with an oily, unnatural sheen. Suppressants, Elder Thomas breathed, his face going gray. Moon Goddess preserve us. Those are suppressants. The pavilion exploded into chaos. Alphas were shouting, demanding justice. Wolves from other packs were backing away from the Ashwood section like they carried plague. My own pack members were staring at Vanessa with horror and dawning rage, because this wasn't just about me anymore. This was about the law, about honor, about a crime so serious that it carried a mandatory sentence. Vanessa's face had gone from white to gray. That's not mine. Someone planted it. Kira probably. Kira has been with me for the past 2 hours, Damien said coldly. And my guards don't plant evidence. They found it, locked in your personal case, hidden under your bed. Would you like to explain how it got there if you didn't put it there yourself? Vanessa's mouth opened and closed like a fish. No words came out. Serena suddenly pushed forward, her Luna's bearing cracking into something desperate. Your Majesty, please. My daughter is young, foolish perhaps, but she meant no harm. It was a misguided attempt to help. Kira was so depressed about not shifting, and Vanessa thought that poisoning her stepsister would help her depression? Damien's voice was sharp enough to draw blood. Please, Luna Serena. Explain to me how systematic poisoning is helpful. It was to protect her. Serena's voice rose, desperation bleeding through. Don't you see? Every birthday that passed without a shift, Kira became more of a target. Wolves were talking, questioning Marcus's bloodline, wondering if he was weak. We were protecting the pack's reputation, protecting Marcus's position, protecting yourselves, I said quietly. You were protecting yourselves. Because if I shifted, especially if I shifted into a strong wolf, I'd be a threat to your positions, to Vanessa's status as the favored daughter, to your control over my father and the pack. Serena's eyes met mine, and for a moment, the mask dropped completely. I saw cold calculation, pure ambition, and no remorse whatsoever. You're half human, she said, her voice like ice. You were never going to be a strong wolf, never going to be good enough. I did you a favor, sparing you the disappointment. Enough. Damien's voice cracked across the pavilion like thunder, and I actually felt wolves around us drop to their knees from the sheer alpha power behind it. You admit it, in front of 300 witnesses, and your king. You admit to systematically poisoning your stepdaughter. Serena seemed to realize what she'd just done. Her face drained of all color. That's not I didn't mean. Marcus Ashwood. Damien turned to my father, who stood frozen among the crowd. You're the alpha, the head of your pack, the one responsible for the safety and well-being of every member. Did you know? Marcus looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in years. I saw something break in his face. No, he whispered. Moon Goddess. No, I didn't. I thought she was just... His voice cracked. Kira, I swear I didn't know. I thought you were truly wolfless. You thought it was easier to believe I was broken than to question why your perfect new family might want to keep me that way, I said, and I was surprised by how steady my voice was. You chose them over me, Father. Every day for 14 years, you chose them over me. Because I was weak, Marcus said, and tears were actually streaming down his face. Because I was drowning in grief, and Serena was there, and I let her make decisions I should have made, and I failed you. I failed your mother. I failed everything I was supposed to be. It was the most honest thing he'd said to me in over a decade. It was also too late. The law is clear, Elder Thomas said, his voice heavy with regret. Use of suppressants on another wolf without consent is a crime punishable by exile or death. At the king's discretion. No, Vanessa shrieked. You can't, I'm the Alpha's daughter. You're a poisoner, Damien said flatly. And you'll face the consequences, as will your mother. Your Majesty, please. Marcus dropped to his knees, and the sight of an Alpha submitting so completely sent shockwaves through the crowd. Please, punish me. Exile me. Strip my rank, take my territory, do whatever you want. But my daughter, she's young. She was influenced by her mother. She's 24 years old and spent 4 years deliberately poisoning her stepsister, Damien said. She's not a child, Marcus. She's a criminal. Then make it exile. Marcus begged. Please, Your Majesty. Not death. I know I have no right to ask for mercy. But you don't. I said. Everyone looked at me. I stepped forward, away from Damien's protective hand, and looked down at my father kneeling on the ground. You have no right to ask for mercy, I repeated. You showed me none. She showed me none. They poisoned me, Father. Stole years of my life. Made me believe I was worthless. And you let them. So, no, you don't get to beg for their lives now. Marcus's face crumpled. Kira, but I'm not them. I continued, my voice shaking but firm. I'm not cruel. I'm not vindictive, and I don't want their deaths on my conscience. I turned to Damien. Exile, for both of them, stripped of rank and pack bonds, banned from all pack territories in the kingdom. They can go live as rogues and see how they like being nothing. Damien studied me for a long moment. You're certain? The law allows for harsher punishment. I'm certain. Let them live with what they've done. That's punishment enough. He nodded slowly, then raised his voice to carry across the pavilion. By the authority vested in me as Alpha King, I hereby strip Luna Serena Ashwood and Vanessa Ashwood of their ranks, pack bonds, and territory rights. They are exiled from this kingdom, effective immediately. Any pack that harbors them will face sanctions. Any wolf that assists them will be investigated. They are alone. They are nothing, and they are gone. The words resonated with power, with finality. I watched as Serena and Vanessa both gasped, clutching their chests as the pack bonds were severed. It was painful, like having part of your soul ripped away. I knew because I'd felt the bonds weakening over the years as Marcus pulled away from me. But this was different. This was complete. Total. Irrevocable. Guards moved forward, Damien's guards, not pack wolves, and took hold of Serena and Vanessa. No! Vanessa screamed, struggling. Father, don't let them. Father, please. But Marcus just knelt there, broken and crying, and said nothing. They were dragged away, Vanessa screaming curses and Serena silent and stony-faced. And I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No joy. Just exhaustion. Marcus Ashwood, Damien continued. You failed in your fundamental duty as Alpha. You allowed a member of your pack, your own daughter, to be abused and poisoned under your roof. The council will decide if you're fit to continue as Alpha. Until then, you're on probation. One more failure, one more sign of weakness, and you'll lose everything. Do you understand? Yes, Your Majesty, Marcus whispered. Now get out of my sight. Marcus stood on shaking legs and walked away, suddenly looking decades older. The rest of the Ashwood pack followed, their heads down, carrying the shame of what had been revealed. I stood on the platform, surrounded by hundreds of staring wolves, and felt the weight of it all crash down on me. My legs gave out. Damien caught me before I hit the ground, pulling me against his chest, his arms strong and steady around me. I've got you, he murmured into my hair. You're safe. You did it. It's over. Is it? I asked, my voice muffled against his shirt. The worst of it, yes. His hand stroked my back in soothing circles. The rest we'll handle together. Together. The word should have terrified me. Instead, it felt like a promise. Like maybe, for the first time in 14 years, I wasn't alone. Chapter 4. Awakening. I don't remember much about leaving the pavilion. Just fragments. Damien's arms around me, the whispers of 300 wolves following us out, the cool night air on my face, Garrett's gruff voice saying something about getting her to safety, the smooth leather of the SUV seat beneath me, and then exhaustion pulled me under like a riptide, and I surrendered to it. I woke to sunlight streaming through windows that were definitely not mine, in a bed that felt like sleeping on a cloud, under sheets that probably cost more than everything I'd ever owned combined. For a blissful moment, I didn't remember. Then it all came crashing back. The ceremony, the confrontation, Damien revealing everything in front of the entire kingdom's unmated wolves. Vanessa and Serena's exile. Marcus's broken face. The mate bond. I sat up too quickly and immediately regretted it as the room spun. I looked down at my hands. Someone had cleaned and bandaged the cuts from the thorns. I was wearing soft pajamas that definitely weren't mine, and I smelled like lavender soap. Someone had bathed me while I was unconscious. That should have been alarming, but mostly I was grateful not to be covered in forest debris anymore. "You're awake." A woman's voice, warm and professional, came from a chair by the window. She was middle-aged, with kind eyes and the bearing of someone used to authority. "I'm Dr. Sarah Chen, the Royal Pack physician. How are you feeling?" "Like I got hit by a truck full of emotional trauma," I said honestly. Her lips twitched. "That's surprisingly accurate. You collapsed from exhaustion and shock last night. His Majesty carried you here himself, and refused to leave until I assured him you were stable." She stood and approached the bed, her movements calm and measured. "May I examine you?" I nodded, still trying to process the phrase, "His Majesty carried you here himself." Dr. Chen checked my pupils, my pulse, listened to my heart. Her hands were gentle but efficient. "The good news is you're physically healthy, all things considered. The cuts were minor, no signs of infection. But Kira..." She sat on the edge of the bed, her expression serious. "The suppressants in your system are another matter. I drew blood while you slept, with His Majesty's permission. The levels are concerning." "How concerning?" "You've been dosed consistently and heavily for at least 4 years, possibly longer. The chemical buildup is significant. We can flush most of it out with treatments, but..." She hesitated. "There may be permanent effects. Delayed shifting, difficulty maintaining wolf form at first. Possible pain during your first transformations. I won't know the full extent until we get the drugs out of your system and you actually shift." "But I will shift?" The question came out smaller than I intended. "I do have a wolf?" "Oh, honey." Dr. Chen's expression softened. "You absolutely have a wolf. I can sense her, trapped and furious. She's been trying to break free for years. Once we clear the suppressants, she's going to emerge like a hurricane." Something tight in my chest loosened. "How long?" "The treatments will take 2 weeks of intensive therapy. After that, you should be able to shift within days, possibly during the next full moon, which is," she checked her tablet, "3 weeks away. Perfect timing, actually. 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, I could finally meet the part of myself I'd thought was gone forever." "Where am I?" I asked, looking around the room properly for the first time. It was gorgeous, high ceilings, elegant furniture, windows that overlooked manicured gardens. This wasn't a pack house. This was a palace. The king's personal residence, Dr. Chen confirmed. "You're in the guest wing, though His Majesty mentioned he might move you to quarters closer to his own once you're feeling better." She gave me a knowing look. "He's been very concerned about your well-being." Heat crept up my neck. "About that, the whole mate bond thing. Is it real? Or was he just saying that to protect me?" "Do you feel it?" Dr. Chen asked gently. "The pull? The awareness of him even when he's not in the room?" I did. Even now, I could sense Damien somewhere in the building. Not his exact location, but his presence, like a warm weight in my chest, a compass always pointing toward him. "The bond doesn't lie," Dr. Chen said. "Especially not a royal bond. Alpha king mates are rare, maybe one every few generations. The moon goddess chooses very carefully. You're his, Kira. And he's yours. Whether you accept it or not. That's the truth." A knock on the door interrupted whatever I might have said to that. "Come in," Dr. Chen called. Damien entered, and my breath caught. He was dressed more casually than last night. Dark jeans and a fitted black shirt, but he still radiated power. Those silver eyes found mine immediately, and I felt that pull intensify, like a rope between us drawing tight. "You're awake," he said, his voice carrying relief. "Good. Dr. Chen. How is she?" "Stable, coherent, needs rest and treatment, but she'll recover." "Doctor." Chen stood. "I'll give you 2 privacy. Kira, I'll be back this afternoon to start the first treatment. Until then, take it easy. Your body has been through significant trauma." She left, closing the door softly behind her. Silence fell between us, not uncomfortable, but weighted, charged. "You carried me here," I said finally. "You collapsed in my arms. What else was I supposed to do?" He moved closer, settling into the chair. Dr. Chen had vacated. "How are you feeling?" Honestly, I feel like my entire life was a lie, and I don't know who I am anymore." The words tumbled out before I could stop them. For 14 years I thought I was broken, defective, worthless. And it turns out I wasn't broken, I was sabotaged. By my own family. While my father looked the other way. "I know." His voice was gentle, but his eyes were hard. "What they did to you was unforgivable. You gave them exile instead of death," I said. "You could have overruled me. You're the king. Why didn't you?" Damien was quiet for a moment, studying me. "Because you asked me not to. Because despite everything they did to you, you chose mercy. That says something about who you are, Kira, something important. Or it says, I'm weak." "No." The word was firm, absolute. Mercy from a position of powerlessness is weakness. Mercy from a position of power is strength. You stood in front of 300 wolves, faced your abusers, and chose to be better than them. That's not weakness, that's courage. I wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe I was strong instead of just tired of fighting. "What happens now?" I asked. "I can't go back to the Ashwood Pack. Even if Marcus is still Alpha, even if they'd take me back, I can't." "You're not going back." Damien leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. "You're staying here, in my territory, under my protection." "As what? Your charity case?" His eyes flashed. "As my mate." The words hung in the air between us, heavy with implication. "We barely know each other," I said weakly. "We have time to fix that." He extended his hand, palm up, an offering. "I'm not asking you to accept the bond today, Kira. I'm not asking you to love me or trust me or even like me. I'm asking you to stay, to heal, to get to know me while you figure out who you are without them in your head." I stared at his hand, rough, scarred, strong. The hand of a warrior and a king. The hand of my mate. Slowly, carefully, I placed my hand in his. The spark was immediate, that electric pulse that made my breath hitch and my heart race. His fingers closed around mine, warm and secure. "Okay," I whispered. "I'll stay." His smile was small but genuine, softening those harsh features into something almost tender. "Good. Now, you need to eat. You haven't had a proper meal in Dr. Chen says probably weeks, based on your physical condition." "The pack meals," I started. "Were probably dosed too," he finished grimly. "Which is why you'll eat food prepared by my personal kitchen staff, who are all vetted and loyal and definitely not trying to poison you." He stood, still holding my hand, and gently pulled me to my feet. My legs were shaky but held. "Can you walk, or should I carry you?" The image of the Alpha King carrying me through his palace made my face heat. "I can walk." "Pity." His eyes glinted with humor. I was rather enjoying the carrying. Was he flirting with me? The Alpha King was flirting with me? He led me out of the room and through hallways that belonged in a magazine spread all elegant architecture and priceless art. Wolves we passed immediately bowed their heads in respect. To him, obviously, but also, I noticed, to me. "Why are they bowing to me?" I whispered. "Because you're with me," he said simply. "Because they can smell the mate bond forming, and because word has spread about what happened last night. You're something of a celebrity now, the suppressed wolf who faced down her abusers in front of the entire kingdom. That's not how I want to be famous, I muttered. Too late. Own it. We reached a small dining room, smaller than the formal ones, he explained, used for private meals. A table was already set with enough food for a small army. My stomach growled loudly. Damien's laugh was low and warm. Sit, eat. I'll answer any questions you have. I sat and started filling my plate, trying not to look too desperate. But the food, moon goddess. The food. Fresh fruit, perfectly cooked eggs, bacon that actually tasted like bacon instead of the sad, limp strips I'd been getting, pastries that melted on my tongue, real coffee, not the instant stuff. I may have moaned a little. Good, Damien asked, amusement clear in his voice. I'm going to marry your chef, I said, around a mouthful of croissant. You're going to marry me, actually. The chef is already mated. I nearly choked. He pounded my back helpfully while I coughed. Too soon? He asked, not sounding sorry at all. Maybe a little. I took a drink of water. You said I could ask questions. Ask away. Why were you investigating my pack? You said last night that you'd been looking into the Ashwood territory for months. Why? Damien's expression turned serious. Multiple reasons. Financial irregularities. Your pack's accounts showed significant transfers to Silvercrest pack over the years. Border disputes with neighboring packs that Marcus always seemed to resolve in Silvercrest's favor. Reports of unusual activity along your southern border. He leaned back in his chair. And then there were the rumors about you. About me? About Marcus Ashwood's first daughter. The one who never shifted. The one who disappeared from pack events. The one nobody talked about. His silver eyes held mine. Suppressants leave a trail, Kira. Not just chemical, but behavioral. A wolf who should have shifted but doesn't, combined with a pack that systematically erases that wolf from public view. That's a pattern, one I've seen before. This has happened before? 3 times in my reign. Each time, I was too late. The suppressed wolf had either died from the drugs, been killed by their pack, or been driven to suicide. His jaw tightened. I wasn't going to be late again, so I started investigating. Planted wolves in neighboring packs to watch and report. Reviewed every document from Ashwood territory for the past 15 years, and last night, I decided to see for myself. So, you came to the forest looking for me? I came to Ashwood territory looking for evidence. I found you instead. His voice softened. I found you screaming in a clearing, bloody and alone and so damn angry at the world. And I felt the bond snap into place like lightning. Do you believe in fate? I asked quietly. I didn't used to. He reached across the table, his fingers brushing mine. But the moon goddess doesn't make mistakes. She knew you needed someone powerful enough to protect you, patient enough to let you heal, and strong enough to handle the fire I can sense burning inside you. She knew I needed someone brave enough to face me without flinching, honest enough to call me on my bullshit, and kind enough to show mercy when vengeance would be easier. His fingers laced with mine. So yes, Kira, I believe in fate. Because fate gave me you. My throat felt tight. I'm not who you think I am. I'm not brave or strong. I'm just surviving. You survived 14 years of abuse and 4 years of systematic poisoning without breaking, he said. You stood in front of 300 wolves and told your truth. You showed mercy to enemies who showed you none. And you're sitting here now, planning to keep fighting even though you're terrified. That's not just surviving, Kira. That's warrior spirit. I don't feel like a warrior. You will. His smile was fierce and proud. Once you shift, once you meet your wolf, once you start training, you'll feel it. That strength you've been suppressing to survive? You won't have to suppress it anymore. Training, shifting, meeting my wolf, living without fear. It sounded like a fantasy, like something that happened to other people, not to wolfless rejects from small packs. Except I wasn't wolfless. Wasn't a reject. Wasn't powerless. Not anymore. Tell me about being Alpha King, I said, changing the subject before I could cry into my eggs. What's it like? He laughed. Honestly, endless paperwork, diplomatic headaches, and managing the egos of territorial alphas who all think they know better than me. Sounds terrible. It has its moments. His expression turned thoughtful. But it's also rewarding. When I can actually help someone, make a real difference like last night, it reminds me why I took the throne in the first place. Why did you take the throne, I mean? You don't seem like you enjoy the political aspects. I don't. But my father was dying, and the alternative was my uncle, a wolf who thought power meant dominance and cruelty. Who would have turned this kingdom into a dictatorship? Damien's voice was quiet. So I challenged him for the succession, beat him in single combat in front of the council, and spent the next 8 years cleaning up decades of corruption and establishing new laws to protect wolves like you. How old were you? 22. Same age as you are now. I tried to imagine being 22 and taking on that responsibility. Couldn't. You must have been terrified. Every single day. His admission surprised me. Still am, sometimes. But fear doesn't mean you don't act. It means you act despite the fear. We ate in comfortable silence for a while. I worked my way through an embarrassing amount of food while Damien watched with what looked like satisfaction. What? I asked, catching him staring. You're eating, actually eating, not picking. It's good to see. Your chef is a wizard. I'm pretty sure these pastries contain actual magic. I'll pass along the compliment. He glanced at the clock. Dr. Chen will be back soon to start your first treatment. Until then, would you like to see the territory? Get some fresh air? The thought of going outside, of being seen by more wolves, made my anxiety spike. I don't have any clothes, just these pajamas. Already handled. He stood and offered his hand. I had my assistant pick up some things in your size. They're in your closet. Take your time getting dressed. I'll wait. He left before I could protest, and I found myself back in the gorgeous bedroom with its cloud-like bed. The closet, because of course there was a walk-in closet, was filled with clothes. Not fancy ceremonial dresses, but practical, comfortable things. Jeans that actually fit, soft sweaters, sturdy boots. Everything in my size, everything in colors I actually liked. Someone had paid attention, had cared enough to get it right. I dressed in jeans and a deep green sweater that made my gray eyes look almost silver, brushed my hair, and stared at myself in the mirror. The girl looking back didn't look like a victim, didn't look broken or defeated. She looked like someone who'd survived, who was still standing, like someone who might, someday, be strong. Not yet, I told my reflection, but maybe soon. When I emerged, Damien was waiting in the hallway, and the way his eyes lit up when he saw me made something warm bloom in my chest. Beautiful, he said simply. It's just jeans. I wasn't talking about the clothes. And just like that, I was blushing like a teenager. He led me outside, through gardens that looked like they belonged in a fairy tale. And I felt it, the pull of the earth, the whisper of wild things, the sense of something waiting just beneath my skin. My wolf, trapped but there, patient, strong. I can feel her, I whispered. Damien's hand found mine. Good. Hold on to that feeling. Let it remind you what they tried to take from you, what they failed to take from you. What if I'm not strong enough? When I shift, what if my wolf is weak? What if, Kira? He stopped walking and turned to face me fully. Do you know what suppressants do to wolves who are actually weak? They simply prevent the shift. The wolf never emerges at all. His silver eyes bored into mine. But your wolf? She's been fighting the drugs for years. Fighting to break free. Fighting to protect you. That's not weakness. That's strength beyond measure. How do you know? Because I can feel her too. Through the bond. And she's magnificent. Magnificent. The word settled into my chest like a promise. Maybe I wasn't broken after all. Maybe I never was. Chapter 5. The Wolf Within. 2 weeks passed like a dream I was afraid to wake from. Dr. Chen's treatments were brutal injections that burned like fire through my veins, herbs that made me violently ill, sessions in a specialized chamber that supposedly accelerated cellular purification, but felt like being slowly electrocuted. Every day, I'd collapse into bed, feeling like I'd been torn apart and badly reassembled. But every day, I felt her stronger. My wolf, clawing at the chemical cage, getting closer to freedom. And every day, Damien was there. He sat with me during the worst treatments, holding my hand while I screamed. He carried me back to my room when I couldn't walk. He read to me when the pain was too bad to sleep, his deep voice anchoring me when I wanted to give up. "Why are you doing this?" I asked one night, after a particularly bad session. "You're the Alpha King. You have a kingdom to run. Why are you spending hours sitting with me?" He looked up from the book he'd been reading, some ancient text about wolf history that I was pretending to listen to. "Because you're mine to care for. Because the bond demands it. Because I want to." "The bond," I started, "is only part of it," he interrupted gently. "Yes, the mate bond creates a pull, a need to be near you. But Kira, I like you. I like your stubborn refusal to give up. I like how you mock my terrible jokes. I like that you're not impressed by titles or power. I like watching you discover who you are without them in your head." His silver eyes held mine. "The bond brought us together. But I'm choosing to stay." Choosing. The word felt important. Revolutionary even. No one had ever chosen me before. Not really. I'd been tolerated, controlled, used. But chosen? Wanted? That was new. "I like you too," I admitted, my voice small. "You're bossy and overprotective, and you have terrible taste in books. This is a classic, but you're also kind. Patient. You listen when I talk. You don't make me feel small." I looked down at my hands. "I'm not ready for the mate bond. Not ready for everything that means. But I'm glad it's you." His smile was soft and genuine. "That's enough. For now, that's more than enough." The third week brought changes I couldn't ignore. My senses sharpened. I could hear conversations from rooms away, could smell the individual components in my food, could see in the dark like it was merely dim instead of pitch black. My strength increased. I accidentally broke a doorknob. Shattered a glass just by gripping it too hard. Dr. Chen said it was normal, my wolf's strength bleeding through as the suppressants cleared. And the dreams started. Every night, I dreamed of running. Of 4 paws instead of 2 feet. Of forest and moonlight and the pure joy of speed. I'd wake up with phantom memories of fur and claws, reaching for something just beyond my grasp. "Soon," Dr. Chen said during my final treatment. "Maybe even tonight. The full moon rises at midnight. Your wolf is going to answer it. Tonight." My first shift, after years of waiting, of believing it would never happen. Tonight I'd finally meet her. I was terrified. What if something goes wrong? I asked Damien for the 100th time as evening approached. What if the drugs damaged something? What if I shift and can't shift back? What if you're magnificent?" He interrupted, pulling me into his arms. We'd gotten more comfortable with casual touch over the past weeks, nothing inappropriate, but small things. Hand-holding. Hugs. His arm around my shoulders. Each touch strengthened the bond, made it harder to remember why I'd been hesitant. What if you shift and discover you're everything they told you that you weren't? That's a lot of pressure. Then forget about pressure. Forget about expectations. Just feel. Your wolf knows what to do. Trust her. Garrett appeared in the doorway, his gruff face apologetic. "Your Majesty, the pack is gathering. They're ready when you are." The pack. Damien had explained that first shifts traditionally happened surrounded by pack, with the alpha present to guide and protect. Since I technically had no pack now, Marcus had formally released me from Ashwood bonds. I'd be shifting with Damien's royal pack. Hundreds of wolves, all there to watch me either succeed or fail spectacularly. "I think I'm going to be sick," I muttered. "You'll be fine." Damien pressed a kiss to my forehead, a new development from this morning that had made my heart do complicated acrobatics. "I'll be right there with you, every step." We walked to the ceremonial grounds behind the palace, a massive clearing surrounded by ancient trees, lit by torches and the rising moon. Wolves were already gathered, sitting in a loose circle. I recognized members of Damien's guard, palace staff, visiting dignitaries. Hundreds of eyes, all watching. My steps faltered. Damien's hand found the small of my back, steady and warm. "Breathe. They're not here to judge. They're here to witness, to celebrate. This is a gift, Kira. Your first shift. Let them share it with you." We walked to the center of the circle. The moon was rising, huge and silver and calling to something deep in my bones. Dr. Chen approached, her expression warm. How do you feel? Like I'm about to jump off a cliff. Good metaphor. Shifting is like jumping, you have to let go and trust the fall. She checked my pulse, my pupils. Physically, you're ready. The suppressants are cleared. Your wolf is free. All you have to do is let her out. All I have to do, I repeated weakly. Damien began removing his shirt. I'll shift with you. My wolf will help guide yours through the first transformation. Just follow my lead. He stripped efficiently. I tried very hard not to stare and failed, and then his shift began. I'd seen it before, but it still took my breath away. The silver light, the fluid change from man to massive black wolf with glowing eyes. He was beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. His wolf padded toward me, enormous head level with my chest, and huffed softly. An encouraging sound. I closed my eyes and reached inside myself, looking for the presence I'd been feeling for weeks. There. A pulse of wild energy, coiled and ready. My wolf. Hello. I thought. The response was immediate. A flood of emotion, joy, rage, relief, determination. She'd been waiting so long, fighting so hard, and now, finally, she was free. Show me, I thought. Show me who we are. The shift began. Pain. Moon goddess, the pain. Every bone in my body, breaking and reforming. Muscles tearing and rebuilding. Skin stretching, fur erupting. My scream became a howl halfway through, but under the pain was something else. Power, strength, rightness. The world tilted, changed. I fell forward, except I didn't fall. I landed on 4 paws. My vision sharpened into hyperclarity, showing me colors I'd never seen. Scents exploded around me, earth and wolf, and pack, and mate. Mate. Damien's wolf was right there, steady and strong, his silver eyes holding mine. I looked down at my paws. White. Pure white fur covering powerful legs. I twisted, trying to see myself a flash of white tail, the sense of size and strength. Look at you, a voice said in my mind. Damien's voice, but deeper. His wolf. Beautiful, powerful, perfect. The pack erupted in howls, celebration, welcome, joy. The sound washed over me like a blessing. I'd done it. I'd shifted. I had a wolf. I was whole. My wolf wanted to run, needed to run. Years of being caged demanded release. Damien's wolf understood. He turned and bolted toward the tree line, and I followed without thinking. Running on 4 legs was instinct, natural as breathing. My powerful muscles ate up the ground. The forest blurred past, wind in my fur, earth under my paws, the moon lighting my path. Free. I was finally, beautifully free. Damien's wolf ran beside me, matching my pace, guiding me through the territory. Other wolves joined us, his guards, his pack, until we were a river of fur and power flowing through the moonlit forest. This was what I'd been missing. This connection, this wildness, this belonging. We ran for what felt like hours, the pack flowing around us like a living tide. I'd never felt so alive, so powerful, so right. Every stride was joy. Every breath was freedom. Eventually, we slowed to a stop in a moonlit clearing beside a silver lake. The water reflected the full moon perfectly, creating 2 moons, one above, one below. Damien shifted back to human form. I tried to follow. Nothing happened. I focused, reaching for that human shape, but my wolf wasn't ready to let go yet. Panicked, I tried harder. My wolf dug in, refusing. Easy. Damien's voice in my mind, calm and soothing. First shifts can be tricky. Your wolf has been suppressed for so long. She's reluctant to give up control. Don't fight her, coax her, promise her you'll shift again soon. I stopped fighting and started negotiating with myself, which felt insane, but it worked. Slowly, carefully, my wolf agreed to retreat. The shift back was less painful but more disorienting. Suddenly I was human again, naked in the moonlight, with Damien very deliberately keeping his eyes on my face. He pulled off his shirt, when had he put clothes back on, and handed it to me. I pulled it over my head gratefully. It hung to mid-thigh, smelling like him, warm from his body. You did it, he said, his voice rough with emotion. Moon goddess, Kira, you were magnificent. A white wolf. Do you know how rare that is? Is that good? Good? His laugh was incredulous. It's extraordinary. White wolves appear maybe once a generation. They're said to be blessed by the moon goddess herself. Powerful beyond measure, destined for greatness. I don't want to be destined for greatness, I said, suddenly overwhelmed. I just wanted to be normal, to have a wolf, to belong. You'll never be normal, Kira. He moved closer, his hands cupping my face. You're a white wolf. That makes you rare, special, important. The pack, the entire kingdom is going to expect things from you now. The weight of his words settled over me like a heavy cloak. What kind of things? Leadership, power, strength. His thumbs brushed my cheekbones. But you don't have to face it alone. I'll be with you. Every step. Before I could respond, a howl cut through the night. Not celebratory. Warning. Damien's entire body went rigid. That's the perimeter patrol. Something's wrong. Other wolves emerged from the forest, Garrett in human form, pulling on pants, his face grim. Your Majesty, we have a situation. Rogues on the southern border. At least 20 of them, organized and armed. They're demanding to speak with you. Garrett's eyes flicked to me. Specifically, they're demanding to speak with the White Wolf. They say they have information about more suppressed wolves. And they say if you don't come, people will die. My blood ran cold. It's a trap. Probably, Damien agreed, his expression hardening into something dangerous. But if there's even a chance they're telling the truth, if there are more wolves being suppressed, we have to go. I finished. Not we. Me. His voice carried alpha command. You just had your first shift. You can barely control your wolf yet. You're not ready for combat. If they're asking for the White Wolf specifically, they want me there for a reason. I straightened, meeting his eyes. I'm going. Kira, you said we're partners. You said I'd never face things alone. That goes both ways, Damien. I pulled his shirt tighter around me. Besides, if they want to use me as bait, let them try. I'm not the helpless victim anymore. I'm a white wolf. Let's show them what that means. Garrett made a choking sound that might have been approval or concern. Damien stared at me for a long moment. Then, slowly, his lips curved into a fierce, proud smile. All right, my white wolf. Let's go show them exactly what you've become. His expression turned deadly serious. But if things go wrong, if I tell you to run, you run. Understood? Understood, I lead. Because if things went wrong, I wasn't running anywhere. I'd spent years running, hiding, making myself small. Those days were over. Chapter 6. The Rogue's Truth. We didn't have time for me to get proper clothes. Garrett threw me a pair of someone's spare sweatpants and a jacket that swallowed me whole. I looked ridiculous, oversized clothes. Bare feet, hair wild from shifting, but I didn't care. 20 rogues on our border wasn't just a random attack. It was organized, deliberate. And they wanted me specifically. The question was why. We moved fast. Damien's elite guard forming a protective formation around us as we headed south. Some stayed in wolf form for speed and combat readiness. Others remained human to communicate and strategize. I stayed human because I wasn't confident I could shift back quickly if needed. My wolf was still too new, too eager, too unpredictable. Talk to me about rogues, I said to Garrett as we half ran through the forest. I thought they were just lone wolves who left their packs. Most are, Garrett replied, his voice steady despite the pace. But organized rogue bands? Those are different. Usually led by exiled wolves with grudges. Sometimes they're mercenaries wolves who'll do anything for the right price. His expression darkened. 20 rogues working together? That takes serious leadership and serious motivation. Or serious desperation, Damien added. If they really do have information about suppressed wolves, they might be trying to bargain for something. Like what? Asylum, territory rights, pardons for past crimes. Damien's jaw was tight. Or it's a trap designed to kill or capture you. the white wolf who exposed suppressant use in a major pack. You made enemies, Kira. Powerful enemies who might want you silenced. The thought sent ice down my spine. I'd been so focused on my own story, my own recovery, that I hadn't considered the broader implications. How many other wolves were suppressing their pack members? How many saw me as a threat to their power? Silvercrest, I said suddenly. Serena came from Silvercrest. They were using her to infiltrate Ashwood. If they've been doing this to multiple packs, then exposing the practice threatens their entire operation, Damien finished grimly. Which makes you a very valuable target. We reached the southern border in 20 minutes of hard running. The landscape changed here, less forest, more rocky terrain. Defensible, but also harder to maneuver in wolf form. The rogues were waiting in a clearing, just as Garrett had said. 20 of them, all in human form, all armed with silver weapons, the only metal that could seriously harm wolves. They weren't attacking, just standing there, weapons lowered but ready, waiting. At their center stood a woman I recognized. Moon Goddess. I breathed. That's Elena Frost. She was Luna of the Western Ridge Pack. Damien's eyes narrowed. The pack that fell under Silvercrest's control 15 years ago. The one where the Alpha mysteriously died. Elena looked older than I remembered from the pack gatherings, her dark hair streaked with gray, her face lined with stress and exhaustion, but her eyes were sharp, alert. And when she saw us emerge from the tree line, something like relief crossed her features. Alpha King, she called, her voice carrying clearly. Thank you for coming. And Kira Ashwood, or should I say Blackthorn now. Thank you for being brave enough to show yourself. Damien's guards tensed, ready to attack at his signal. But he held up a hand, stopping them. Elena Frost, he said, his voice carrying absolute authority. You're wanted for treason against your pack, for abandoning your Luna duties, for speaking the truth about what Silvercrest did to Western Ridge, Elena interrupted. For trying to stop them from spreading to other packs, for attempting to expose their suppressant operation. Her eyes met mine. For trying to save my daughter before they could do to her what they did to you. The words hit like a physical blow. Your daughter was suppressed? Is being suppressed, Elena corrected, her voice cracking. Present tense. My beautiful girl, 20 years old, convinced she's wolfless, convinced she's broken, living in Western Ridge under the control of my sister's son, the Alpha who inherited, after my mate's convenient death. Her hands clenched into fists. I've been gathering evidence for 3 years, gathering wolves who escaped Silvercrest's influence, building a case. And then you happened. Me? You exposed the practice in front of 300 witnesses, and the Alpha King himself. You proved suppressants were being used. You survived and became stronger. Elena's eyes shone with unshed tears. You gave us hope, proof that speaking out was possible, that justice might actually happen. So we came. All of us, wolves from 6 different packs, all exiled or fled, because we tried to stop Silvercrest's expansion. We came to offer you everything we know, every name, every location, every piece of evidence we've gathered, in exchange for your help saving the wolves who are still trapped. Silence fell over the clearing. How many? Damien asked, his voice tight. How many suppressed wolves? That we know of? 17. Spread across 6 packs. Elena pulled a folder from her jacket, actual paper documents, carefully compiled, but we suspect more. Silvercrest has been doing this for at least 20 years, maybe longer. Systematically suppressing rival bloodlines, eliminating threats, consolidating power. They're building an empire, Your Majesty. And they're using suppressants as their weapon. Garrett stepped forward and took the folder, flipping through it quickly. His face grew darker with each page. This is detailed, he said, grudging respect in his voice. Pack names, suppressant sources, financial trails. If this is accurate. It's accurate. Another rogue spoke up, a younger man with scars across his face. I was part of Silvercrest's inner circle before I figured out what they were doing and ran. I helped administer the drugs. I have names, dates, everything. His voice shook with shame. I didn't know what I was doing at first. They told me it was medicine, supplements. By the time I realized, I'd already poisoned 12 wolves. 12 lives I helped destroy. Why should we trust you? One of Damien's guards demanded. You're rogues, exiles. You could be working for Silvercrest right now, feeding us false information. We could be. Elena agreed. But we're not. We're parents and siblings and mates of suppressed wolves. We're the ones who spoke up and lost everything. We're the ones who've been living as rogues for years, hunted by Silvercrest's assassins, barely surviving. She looked directly at me. We're you, Kira. Before you found your king, before you got your justice, we're the ones still fighting. Something in her words resonated deep in my chest. I knew that desperation, that determination to save someone you loved, no matter the cost. Your daughter, I said quietly. What's her name? Maya Frost. She's in Western Ridge territory, living in the pack house, working as basically a servant despite being true-born Luna blood. Elena's voice broke. She thinks I abandoned her, thinks I'm a traitor who ran away. She doesn't know I've been fighting to save her this whole time. I looked at Damien. He was studying the documents, his expression unreadable. This could be a trap, he said quietly. Silvercrest could have orchestrated this entire thing. These rogues could be bait to lure us into a conflict with 6 packs at once. It could be, I agreed. But what if it's not? What if there really are 17 wolves like me, trapped and suffering? Can we risk ignoring this? His silver eyes met mine. Investigating 6 packs simultaneously would take enormous resources, could trigger conflicts. Other alphas would see it as overreach, claim I'm abusing my power. Then let me do it, I said. Everyone turned to stare at me. What? Damien's voice was sharp. I'm the White Wolf, the one who survived, the living proof that suppressed wolves can be saved. I stepped forward, closer to Elena and her rogues. Let me be the face of this investigation. Not the Alpha King flexing his authority, but a survivor helping other survivors. It's harder to argue with that. Absolutely not, Damien said flatly. You just had your first shift 3 hours ago. You have no combat training, no political experience, no one trying to keep me quiet anymore, I interrupted. Damien, they asked for me specifically. The White Wolf. Because I represent hope to them. Let me be that hope. By walking into potential death traps? By standing up and saying no more? I turned to Elena. If I help you, if I investigate these packs, expose the suppressants, save your daughter and the others, what do you want in return? Asylum, Elena said immediately. For all of us, territory rights as a recognized pack. We don't want to be rogues anymore. We want to belong somewhere. Somewhere safe from Silvercrest's reach. Done. I said. Kira! Damien's voice cracked with alpha command. You can't make that promise. You're not what? Not Luna Queen yet? I met his eyes steadily. Then make me Luna Queen. Officially, give me the authority to grant asylum, to lead this investigation, to save these wolves. The clearing went utterly silent. Damien stared at me like I'd grown a second head. You're asking me to fast-track our mating ceremony so you can immediately throw yourself into danger. I'm asking you to trust me, to believe I'm strong enough for this. I moved closer, lowering my voice so only he could hear. You said I was destined for greatness, that the moon goddess chose me for this. Let me live up to that destiny. Let me be the Luna Queen who fights for the powerless. Isn't that what you wanted? A partner who would help you change the kingdom? His jaw worked. I could see the war in his eyes, the alpha who wanted to protect me versus the king who knew I was right. 3 conditions, he said finally. First, you train with Garrett every day. Combat, strategy, everything. You don't go into any pack territory until you can defend yourself. Agreed. Second, you never go alone. My guards accompany you everywhere. If they say it's too dangerous, you listen. Agreed. Third, his hand cupped my face, his thumb brushing my cheek. You accept the mate bond fully. No more hesitation. Because if you're going to be Luna Queen, if you're going to put yourself in danger for this cause, I need to know you're completely mine. That the bond is strong enough to keep you safe. That if something happens, I can find you anywhere. The weight of what he was asking settled over me. Full mate bond acceptance meant complete connection. Our wolves would be permanently linked. our lives intertwined. I'd feel his emotions, he'd feel mine. We'd be truly, irrevocably mated. It was everything I'd been afraid of. It was also exactly what I needed. Yes, I said. To all of it. His kiss was claiming, possessive, fierce. When we broke apart, I could feel something shifting in my chest, the bond strengthening, solidifying. He turned to Elena and the rogues. You have your deal, asylum for information and cooperation. But if you betray us, if this is a Silvercrest trap, there will be no mercy. Understood? Understood, Your Majesty. Elena bowed her head in respect. Thank you. Moon Goddess, thank you. Don't thank me, Damien said. Thank her. He nodded toward me. She's the one who just became your champion. Elena's eyes met mine, shining with tears. The white wolf who saves the broken ones. That's what they're going to call you, you know. The Luna Queen who remembers what it was like to be nothing. Good, I said, because I'll never forget, and I'll make damn sure no one else has to live through what we did. Garrett approached Damien, his expression troubled. Your Majesty, if we're doing this fast-tracking the mating ceremony, launching a multi-pack investigation, we need to inform the council. Some of them are going to push back hard. Let them push, Damien said coldly. The law is clear. Suppressants are illegal. Any pack using them faces sanctions. I'm not asking permission. I'm informing them it's happening. There's one more problem, the scarred rogue spoke up. Silvercrest knows about Kira now. Knows she exposed the Ashwood operation. They're going to come for her. And they have resources we can't match. Assassins, spies, corrupt wolves in high places. Then they'll have to go through me. Damien said, his voice dropping to a growl. And my entire guard. And every loyal wolf in this kingdom who believes suppressants are an abomination. His arm wrapped around my shoulders, pulling me against his side. They can try, but they'll fail. I leaned into his strength, feeling the bond pulse between us stronger now, more certain. 3 hours ago, I'd had my first shift. Discovered I was a white wolf. Felt true freedom for the first time. Now I was about to become Luna Queen and launch a kingdom-wide investigation that would make powerful enemies. My life was insane. I wouldn't have it any other way. When do we start? I asked. Elena smiled, tired but hopeful. Tomorrow, if you're willing. We have a contact in the Riverside Pack who can get us access to their records. It's the smallest of the 6 packs, so it's the safest starting point. Tomorrow. Then, I agreed. We spent another hour getting details, making plans, integrating Elena's rogues into our group. By the time we headed back to the palace, dawn was breaking over the mountains. I'd been awake for over 24 hours. I'd had my first shift, run with a pack, met dangerous rogues, and committed to becoming Luna Queen ahead of schedule. I should have been exhausted. Instead, I felt alive. You realize you just volunteered for a war, Damien said as we walked, his hand warm in mine. I survived 4 years of being slowly poisoned, I replied. I can handle whatever Silvercrest throws at me. That's not what worries me. He stopped, pulling me around to face him. What worries me is that you're so used to pain, so accustomed to sacrifice, that you don't value your own safety. You'd throw yourself into fire to save someone else without hesitation. Is that a bad thing? It's a terrifying thing, for someone who loves you. His forehead pressed against mine. Promise me you'll be careful. Promise me you won't take unnecessary risks. Because Kira, if something happened to you, if I lost you, you won't, I interrupted, my hands coming up to frame his face. Because I have something I didn't have before. Something worth fighting for. Worth staying alive for. What's that? You, us, this future we're building. I smiled. I'm not that girl in the forest anymore, Damien. I'm not looking for ways to disappear. I'm looking for reasons to stay. And I found one. His kiss was soft this time, tender, full of promise and hope and fear and love all tangled together. When we finally made it back to the palace, Dr. Chen was waiting with her arms crossed and a disapproving expression. You were supposed to rest after your first shift, she said sternly. Instead, you ran off to confront rogues, negotiate asylum, and apparently agree to become Luna Queen immediately. It's been an eventful night, I admitted. Sit, Both of you. She pointed to chairs in her medical office. I need to check Kira's vitals after that shift, and I need to lecture you both about proper post-transformation rest protocols. We sat obediently while she fussed over me, checking my temperature, my heart rate, examining my joints for shift damage. Physically, you're fine, she said grudgingly. Better than fine, actually. Your wolf is strong, and the shift was clean. But Kira, her expression softened. Your body has been through tremendous trauma. The suppressants, the treatments, now your first shift and all this stress. You need rest, real rest, or you're going to collapse, mate bond or no mate bond. After the mating ceremony, I promised. After we start the investigation. After. Now, Damien interrupted. Dr. Chen is right. You need rest. We'll do the ceremony tomorrow night, full moon again. Perfect timing. Today, you sleep. But that's an order from your alpha, he said, his voice carrying that command I couldn't refuse. My wolf, exhausted and satisfied after her first real run, agreed completely. Suddenly, I could barely keep my eyes open. Fine, I mumbled. But tomorrow, you become my Luna Queen, Damien said, scooping me into his arms like I weighed nothing. Tomorrow, we make it official. Tomorrow, we start changing the kingdom. He carried me to my room, our room soon, I realized with a flutter of nerves and excitement, and laid me on the cloud-like bed. Sleep, my white wolf, he murmured, brushing hair from my face. When you wake, your new life begins. I wanted to say something profound, something meaningful about how far I'd come or how grateful I was. Instead, I fell asleep mid-thought, exhausted and happy and whole. Chapter 7. Luna Queen. I woke to sunlight streaming through windows, and the smell of food that made my stomach growl aggressively. For a blissful moment, I just lay there, warm and comfortable and safe. Then memory crashed back and I bolted upright. Tonight. The mating ceremony was tonight. I was becoming Luna Queen tonight. Easy, a familiar voice said. Damien sat in a chair by the window, reading, always reading. He looked up with a soft smile. You've been asleep for 14 hours. Dr. Chen said to let you rest as long as you needed. 14 hours? I stared at him. Have you been sitting there the whole time? Most of it. I had some council meetings this morning. They were spirited. His expression turned wry. Turns out, announcing you're fast-tracking a mating ceremony and launching a kingdom-wide suppressant investigation doesn't go over well with certain conservative alphas. How spirited are we talking? 3 council members demanded your background be investigated. 2 suggested you might be a Silvercrest plant. 1 actually had the audacity to say a white wolf mating a king was unnatural and defying tradition. His eyes flashed silver. I may have reminded them that tradition also says the Alpha King's word is law, and anyone questioning my mate is questioning me. I winced. I'm causing you political problems already. You're forcing necessary changes. There's a difference. He stood and moved to the bed, sitting on the edge. Besides, half the council is thrilled. The younger alphas especially, they see you as proof that the old guard's power is breaking. That merit matters more than bloodline. No pressure, then. His laugh was warm. Speaking of pressure, Elena's rogues have been integrated into the guard barracks. Garrett's been interviewing them all morning, verifying their information. It checks out, Kira. All of it. Names, locations, financial records. Silvercrest has been running a suppressant operation for at least 20 years. 20 years. How many wolves had suffered? How many had died believing they were broken? We start with Riverside Pack tomorrow, I said. It wasn't a question. After you've trained with Garrett. After you've learned basic combat and defensive strategies. After I'm Luna Queen and you can't order me around anymore? I interrupted with a small smile. Being Luna Queen doesn't mean I stop worrying about you. His hand cupped my face. If anything, it makes it worse. Because now you have official authority to throw yourself into danger. Good thing you'll be there to pull me out. Always. He leaned in and kissed me, soft and sweet. When he pulled back, his expression turned more serious. The ceremony is at midnight. Full moon, traditional timing. The council will attend, along with every alpha in the region, and most of the royal pack. It's going to be formal, public, and political. Sounds terrifying. It is, but you've faced worse. He stood, offering his hand. Come on. You need to eat. And then you have appointments. Appointments. Luna Queen preparation, dress fitting, etiquette briefing, ceremony rehearsal. At my expression, he laughed. Did you think you'd just show up and wing it? I was hoping? Not a chance. You're about to become the second most powerful wolf in the kingdom. There are protocols. The next hours were a whirlwind of activity that made my head spin. First was breakfast, a massive meal that I devoured while Garrett briefed me on basic self-defense concepts. We'll start real training tomorrow, he said. But tonight, I need you to know 3 things. How to break a hold, how to dodge, and how to use your claws if shifted. He demonstrated on a very patient guard, while I ate pastries and tried to memorize the movements. Next was the dress fitting. A team of seamstresses had created something that made me actually gasp when I saw it. The dress was white, of course, but not the heavy, traditional style I expected. It was lighter, more modern, with intricate silver embroidery that caught the light like moonbeams. The back was open, designed to tear away easily if I needed to shift in an emergency. For a Luna Queen who fights, the head seamstress said with approval. Beautiful and practical. The etiquette briefing was taught by an elderly wolf named Margot who'd served 3 previous Luna Queens. She taught me how to stand, how to speak, how to acknowledge different ranks during the ceremony, how to accept the pack's submission without looking weak, how to project authority while remaining approachable. You're the white wolf, she said, adjusting my posture. You represent hope and change. But you're also Luna Queen. You represent stability and strength. Balance both, and you'll win their hearts. What if I mess up? Then you'll recover gracefully and continue. Perfection isn't the goal, Kira. Connection is. By late afternoon, I was exhausted again mentally, if not physically. Damien found me hiding in the library, staring at books without reading them. Having second thoughts? He asked gently. 10th and 11th thoughts, I admitted. I don't know how to be a queen, Damien. I barely know how to be a regular wolf. What if I'm terrible at this? What if I let everyone down? He settled beside me, pulling me against his side. Want to know a secret? Always. I was terrified my entire first year as Alpha King, made mistakes constantly, trusted the wrong wolves, pushed too hard on some reforms, not hard enough on others, nearly started 2 wars by accident. His voice was rueful. Being a good leader isn't about knowing everything. It's about caring enough to learn, being brave enough to try, and humble enough to admit when you're wrong. That's a lot of pressure. Yes, but you don't carry it alone. He tilted my face up to his. You have me. You have Garrett and Dr. Chen and Elena's rogues who believe in you. You have a kingdom full of wolves who've heard your story and see you as proof that things can change. You're not alone in this, Kira. Not alone. The words settled something anxious in my chest. Okay, I said. I can do this. I will do this. That's my Luna Queen. The hours until midnight passed too quickly. I bathed in water scented with moonflowers, trying to calm my racing heart. The seamstresses returned to help me into the dress, arranging my dark hair into something elegant but simple. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. The girl looking back was powerful, confident, beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with perfection and everything to do with strength earned through suffering. You look like a queen, one of the seamstresses said softly. Maybe. Or maybe I just look like someone finally learning to stand up straight instead of making herself small. Margot came to escort me to the ceremonial grounds. As we walked through the palace, wolves stopped and stared. Some bowed. Others smiled. A few looked skeptical or hostile, the ones who didn't want change, who preferred the old ways. I lifted my chin and kept walking. The ceremonial grounds had been transformed. Thousands of white flowers created a path to the center of the clearing. Torches burned silver, special flames treated with something that made them glow like moonlight, and wolves, hundreds of them, formed a massive circle, all facing the center where Damien waited. He wore formal black, embroidered with silver, his dark hair swept back, those silver eyes glowing in the torchlight. He looked like every fantasy of a powerful alpha king come to life, and he was looking at me like I was the only wolf in the world. The crowd parted as I walked the flower-lined path. I heard whispers, some admiring, some skeptical, some awed. The white wolf. She's so young. Can she really lead? Look at how the king watches her. I reached the center, and Damien extended his hand. I took it, and that electric pulse of the mate bond surged between us. Elder Thomas stepped forward, ancient and dignified, carrying the ceremonial staff that marked official pack business. Wolves of the Northern Kingdom, his voice carried across the clearing. We gather under the full moon to witness the completion of a mate bond and the coronation of a Luna Queen. Alpha King Damien Blackthorn has chosen his mate. The moon goddess has blessed the bond. Now we, the pack, must accept or reject this union. My heart stuttered. Reject? Damien's hand squeezed mine reassuringly. Traditional phrasing, his voice in my mind through the partial bond. They won't reject. Kira Ashwood. Elder Thomas turned to me. You come from the Ashwood pack, daughter of Alpha Marcus. You are newly shifted, a white wolf rare and powerful. You have survived suppressants, exposed corruption, and shown mercy to your enemies. Do you accept the role of Luna Queen? Do you swear to lead with wisdom, protect with strength, and serve this pack with your whole heart? The words were ritual, but the weight behind them was real. I do, I said, and my voice carried clear and strong across the clearing. Alpha King Damien Blackthorn. Elder Thomas turned to him. You have chosen this wolf as your mate, your equal, your Luna Queen. Do you swear to honor her, support her, and share your power with her in all things? I do, Damien said, his eyes never leaving mine. Then, by the authority vested in me by the council and the moon goddess herself, I ask the pack, do you accept Kira Ashwood as your Luna Queen? Silence fell. This was the moment where any wolf could object, could challenge the mating. Then Garrett stepped forward from the crowd, massive and scarred and intimidating. I accept, he said, bowing his head. Luna Queen Kira has proven her strength. She'll have my loyalty and my life if she needs it. Dr. Chen stepped forward next. I accept. This Luna Queen understands suffering and survival. She'll fight for the weakest among us. Then Elena and her rogues, stepping forward as a group. We accept. The white wolf gave us hope when we had none. Then, more wolves, stepping forward one by one or in groups, until the entire clearing was a chorus of I accept and Luna Queen and bowed heads showing respect and submission. Not everyone. I saw wolves in the crowd who remained standing, whose faces showed disapproval or anger, the old guard who hated change. But the majority, the overwhelming majority accepted me. The pack has spoken, Elder Thomas declared. Kira Ashwood, kneel. I knelt on the soft earth, still holding Damien's hand. Elder Thomas produced a crown, delicate silver, worked to look like moonlight frozen into metal, set with white stones that caught the light. By the power of the Alpha King, by the will of the pack, by the blessing of the moon goddess, I crown you Luna Queen of the Northern Kingdom. Rise, your majesty, and take your place. He set the crown on my head. It was lighter than I expected, but the weight of what it represented was enormous. I rose, still holding Damien's hand, and turned to face the pack. Hundreds of wolves, all looking at me, waiting. Now comes the bond, Elder Thomas said. The final connection. Alpha King, Luna Queen, complete your mating. Damien turned to me, his hands framing my face. This is it, he said softly. The moment the bond becomes permanent. Unbreakable. Our souls, our wolves, permanently connected. Are you ready? Was I ready to tie myself forever to this man, to this role, to this future? I thought about the girl I'd been 3 weeks ago. Alone. Broken. Convinced she was worthless. I thought about the white wolf I'd become. Strong, powerful, surrounded by people who believed in her. I thought about the Luna Queen I was choosing to be, fighting for the suppressed, changing the kingdom, standing beside a king who saw me as an equal. Yes, I said. I'm ready. His kiss was claiming and fierce, and as our lips met, I felt the bond snap fully into place. It was like lightning through my entire body, like two incomplete pieces finally joining perfectly. I felt Damien in my chest, in my soul, in every cell. Felt his wolf recognize mine with absolute certainty. Felt our lives intertwining until I couldn't tell where he ended and I began. The mate bond, complete and permanent. Golden light exploded around us, visible manifestation of the completed bond, so bright that wolves had to shield their eyes. When it faded, Damien's forehead was pressed to mine, both of us breathing hard. Mine, he whispered. Ours, I corrected. He laughed, and the pack erupted in howls, celebration, acceptance, joy. I was mated. I was Luna Queen. I was whole. Elder Thomas raised his staff. I present to you, Alpha King Damien Blackthorn and Luna Queen Kira Blackthorn. Let the moon witness their bond and bless their reign. The howls intensified, hundreds of wolves singing to the full moon above, and for the first time in my life, I howled with them, not as an outsider, not as someone pretending to belong, but as their Luna Queen, their white wolf, their leader. The celebration lasted hours. Wolves approached to offer congratulations, formal bows, well wishes. I met alphas from neighboring territories, Luna females who welcomed me into their circle, young wolves who looked at me with awe, and through it all, I felt Damien beside me not just physically, but through the bond. His pride, his love, his fierce protectiveness, all flowing through our connection. How are you holding up? His voice in my mind, private and warm. Terrified and exhilarated in equal measure, I sent back. Is this normal? Completely. Welcome to leadership. His mental voice carried amusement. Ready to make it real? What do you mean? Instead of answering, he raised his hand, calling for silence. The pack quieted immediately. My queen has something to announce, he said, his voice carrying across the grounds. I shot him a look. He just smiled and gestured for me to speak. Right. Luna Queen now. Time to act like it. I stepped forward, feeling the weight of all those eyes. Thank you for accepting me, I said. I know I'm young. I know I'm inexperienced. I know some of you have doubts. I let my gaze travel across the crowd, meeting eyes. But I promise you this. I will never forget what it feels like to be powerless. To be dismissed. To be told you're worthless. And I will fight with everything I have to make sure no wolf in this kingdom ever feels that way again. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. That's why tomorrow, I begin an investigation into suppressant use across 6 packs. With the Alpha King's support and the evidence provided by Elena Frost and her wolves, we will find every suppressed wolf in this kingdom. We will free them. We will punish those responsible. And we will make sure this crime never happens again. Some wolves cheered. Others looked uncertain. A few looked openly hostile. This won't be easy, I continued. It will be dangerous. It will make powerful enemies. Some of you won't agree with my methods or my choices. But I'm not asking for your approval. I'm asking for your trust. Trust that your Luna Queen cares about every wolf, strong or weak, ranked or omega, perfect or broken. Trust that I'll fight for you the way I wish someone had fought for me. Silence fell, heavy with the weight of the moment. Then Garrett stepped forward again. Your Luna Queen has spoken. Anyone who objects can take it up with me. His grin was all teeth. And I promise, that conversation won't go well for you. Laughter broke the tension. Wolves who'd looked uncertain started nodding. The celebration resumed, but now with a different energy purpose mixed with the joy. That was either brilliant or terrifying. Damien's voice in my mind. Both? I suggested. Definitely both. His pride flowed through the bond, warm and fierce. That's my Luna Queen. Hours later, after the celebration finally wound down, Damien led me away from the grounds, not back to the palace, but deeper into the forest. Where are we going? I asked. You'll see. We walked for 20 minutes until we reached a clearing I'd never seen before. A small cabin stood at the center, surrounded by wildflowers, with a stream running nearby. It's private, Damien explained. A place where Alpha Kings traditionally bring their new mates after the ceremony, somewhere to be alone, away from the pack, and the politics and the demands. Just us. Just us. The words sent a flutter through my stomach. He opened the door and led me inside. The cabin was simple but beautiful, one main room with a massive bed, a fireplace already burning, and windows that overlooked the moonlit forest. Tonight, we're not Alpha King and Luna Queen, Damien said, turning to face me. We're just Damien and Kira, mates, bonded, with nothing between us but choice. He started removing his formal jacket. And suddenly the reality of what came next hit me. We were mated, bonded, and I was about to spend my first night alone with my mate. I started, my face heating. I haven't. I know, he said gently. And we don't have to do anything you're not ready for. The bond is complete. Everything else happens at your pace. What if my pace is terrified and eager and confused all at once? His smile was soft and understanding. Then we'll figure it out together. No pressure, no expectations. Just us. He closed the distance between us, his hands gentle as he reached for the crown on my head. May I? I nodded, and he carefully removed it, setting it aside. Not a queen right now, he said. Just Kira. Then he kissed me, soft and sweet and patient, and I felt the bond sing between us, completed, permanent, perfect, and for the first time in my entire life, I felt completely safe, completely wanted, completely whole. Chapter 8. The First Mission. I woke, wrapped in warmth, Damien's arms around me, his steady breathing against my neck, the mate bond humming contentedly in my chest. Last night had been everything. Gentle and fierce, patient and passionate, learning each other, claiming each other, completing the bond in every way. I'd never felt so vulnerable and so powerful at the same time. Good morning, my Luna Queen, Damien's voice in my mind, still rough with sleep. You're awake, I accused. Hard to sleep when I can feel your thoughts racing. His arms tightened around me. Nervous about today? Today, Riverside Pack. My first real mission as Luna Queen, the investigation that would either prove I was capable of this role or expose me as a fraud who'd gotten lucky. Terrified, I admitted through the bond. What if I mess this up? What if I can't help them? What if... His lips pressed against my shoulder, silencing the spiral of doubts. You're going to be brilliant, and you won't be alone. I'll be there. Garrett will be there. Elena knows the territory. We're a team, Kira. You don't have to be perfect, just present. Present. I could do present. We returned to the palace as the sun rose, slipping through quiet hallways to avoid the knowing looks from guards who definitely knew what new mates did on their bonding night. My face was probably permanently red. Garrett was waiting in the training room, looking disgustingly awake for this early. Luna Queen, he greeted with a bow that was only slightly mocking. Ready for your crash course in not dying? Good morning to you too, I muttered. What followed was 2 hours of the most intense physical activity I'd ever experienced. Garrett taught me how to block, dodge, strike, vulnerable points, how to use my smaller size as an advantage, how to shift quickly in an emergency, which I failed at repeatedly. My wolf still too new, too unpredictable. You're thinking too much, Garrett said, after my 5th failed attempt. Your wolf isn't separate from you, she is you. Stop asking permission and just let go. Easy for you to say. You've been shifting for decades. And you've been suppressed for years. Your wolf has trust issues. He softened slightly. She doesn't trust that she won't be caged again. You need to prove to her to yourself that shifting is safe now. That no one's going to take her away again. His words hit deeper than I expected. My wolf did have trust issues. So did I. We're safe now, I thought toward her. No more cages, no more drugs, we can be free. My wolf stirred, uncertain but wanting to believe. Trust me, I thought. Please. She surged forward, and suddenly I was shifting bones, cracking, fur erupting, the world tilting into wolf senses. It hurt, but less than before. Faster than before. I landed on 4 white paws, panting but triumphant. There she is, Garrett's wolf said, having shifted to join me. The Luna Queen in her true form. We practiced shifting for another hour, until I could do it in under 30 seconds. Still not fast enough for combat, but better. By the time we finished, I was exhausted, sweaty, and covered in bruises. You did good, Garrett said, back in human form. Not great, but good. You'll survive if you're smart, and don't do anything stupid. Inspiring words. I'm not here to inspire. I'm here to keep you alive. He tossed me a water bottle. Rest. We leave for Riverside in 2 hours. I showered quickly and changed into practical clothes, jeans, boots, a jacket that could tear away easily for shifting. Dr. Chen appeared with another bottle of supplements. For strength and healing, she explained. Your body is still recovering from years of suppressants. These will help. Will I ever be normal? I asked quietly. Or will I always be playing catch-up? Define normal. She smiled. You're a white wolf, Kira. You were never going to be normal. But yes, within a few months, your body will fully stabilize. The damage from the suppressants will be permanent but manageable. You'll be strong, possibly stronger than wolves who never faced what you did. Adversity builds resilience. I hoped she was right. Damien found me in our rooms. Our rooms now. I was still getting used to that, reviewing the files on Riverside Pack. Alpha, Jonathan Reed, I read aloud. 52 years old, took over from his father 20 years ago. Small pack, only 40 wolves. Territory borders Silver Crest. And according to Elena's intelligence, he has 3 suppressed pack members, including his own nephew. His nephew, Damien repeated, reading over my shoulder. That's either incredibly cruel or suggests Jonathan doesn't know. Or he knows and can't stop it because Silver Crest has leverage over him. I flipped through more pages. Riverside is the smallest pack, the weakest. Perfect target for Silver Crest's expansion, which makes it the perfect starting point for us. Small enough to investigate thoroughly, but not so insignificant that other packs won't notice what we find. Damien's hand found mine. Are you ready for this? Was I? Ready to walk into a strange pack, accuse them of crimes, potentially expose corruption that could destroy lives? No. Absolutely not. Yes, I said anyway. Let's go save some wolves. The convoy that left the palace was smaller than I expected. Just 2 vehicles. Damien, me, Garrett, and 4 guards in one. Elena and 3 of her former rogues in the other. We're not going in heavy-handed, Damien explained as we drove. This is a Luna Queen's mission, not a military operation. We investigate, gather evidence, offer help. If Jonathan cooperates, this goes smoothly. If he doesn't, his expression hardened. Then we escalate. Riverside territory was beautiful rolling hills covered in forests, with a river running through the center that gave the pack its name. Their pack house was modest compared to the palace, but well maintained. A sign of a pack that took pride in what they had, even if it wasn't much. Alpha Jonathan was waiting outside as we pulled up. He was tall and lean, with gray threading through his brown hair and eyes that looked perpetually worried. He bowed immediately when he saw Damien. Your Majesty, Luna Queen, you honor my pack with your presence. His voice shook slightly. He was nervous. Terrified. Actually, good. That meant he knew why we were here. Alpha, Jonathan, Damien greeted formally. Thank you for receiving us on short notice. May we speak privately? Of course. Please come inside. We were led to his office, a comfortable room, lined with books and pack records. Jonathan's hands shook as he poured tea. I know why you're here, he said before Damien could speak. Elena Frost sent word. She said you were investigating suppressants. He set down the teapot before he could drop it. I want you to know I didn't start this. Silver Crest did. My father did. By the time I became Alpha, it was already happening, and they had leverage. Jonathan, Damien's voice cut through the man's rambling. Slow down. Tell us everything. From the beginning. Jonathan sank into his chair like his strings had been cut. 20 years ago, my father was Alpha. Silver Crest wanted access to our river. It's the cleanest water source in the region. My father refused, so they orchestrated attacks on our borders, made it look like rogue problems, weakened us. Then they offered a solution. Marriage alliance. My sister would mate their beta's son. In exchange, they'd protect us. Let me guess, I said quietly. Your sister didn't want the marriage. She was already in love with someone else. But my father forced it, for the pack. Jonathan's voice was bitter. She mated Silvercrest's wolf and had a son. My nephew, Thomas. Beautiful boy. Smart. Strong. Should have been a powerful alpha someday. His hands clenched. But when Thomas turned 16, my sister tried to leave her mate. Tried to take Thomas and run. Silvercrest couldn't allow that it would weaken their hold on us. So they started dosing Thomas with suppressants. Told my sister if she tried to leave again, they'd kill him. If she told anyone, they'd kill him. So she stayed, and Thomas turned 18 without shifting. 19. 20. Now he's 23, and everyone thinks he's wolfless. The pain in Jonathan's voice was raw, real. This wasn't a willing participant in Silvercrest's schemes. This was a trapped alpha watching his family suffer. Where's your sister now? Damien asked. Dead. Suicide, 2 years ago. Couldn't live with what they'd done to her son anymore. Jonathan's voice broke. And I inherited this mess. Silvercrest told me I could either continue the suppressants, or they'd kill Thomas outright and absorb my entire pack. What was I supposed to do? You were supposed to come to me, Damien said, his voice hard but not unkind. I'm your king. I could have helped. Silvercrest said if I contacted you, Thomas would die before you could investigate. They have wolves in your palace, your majesty. Spies. They'd know immediately if I reached out. Jonathan looked at me with desperate hope. But then the white wolf exposed Ashwood. Proved suppressants could be stopped. Proved the king would protect suppressed wolves. So when Elena sent word you were coming, I didn't try to hide, because maybe finally someone powerful enough can help. I felt the weight of his hope like a physical thing. Where is Thomas now? I asked gently. Working in the pack house kitchen. He's relegated to Omega work. No one wants a wolfless wolf doing anything important. Jonathan's jaw tightened. He's brilliant and kind, and should be training to be beta someday. Instead, he peels potatoes and is mocked by wolves half his worth. Take me to him, I said. Jonathan led us through the pack house to the kitchen. It was busy wolves preparing lunch, the scent of cooking food heavy in the air. And there, in the corner, was a young man who looked so much like Jonathan, it was unmistakable. Thomas Reed was thin, too thin, with dark circles under his eyes and hands that moved with practiced efficiency as he chopped vegetables. His shoulders were hunched, his head down, the body language of someone trying to be invisible. I knew that posture. I'd perfected it myself. Thomas, Jonathan called gently. The young man looked up, and I saw his eyes, beautiful green eyes filled with resignation and buried pain. He saw his alpha, then saw Damien and me, and immediately moved to bow. Your Majesty, Luna Queen, forgive my appearance. I wasn't informed we had royal visitors. Or I would have— You would have what? I interrupted, moving closer. Made yourself more presentable? Tried to hide? His eyes widened with confusion and fear. Thomas, I'm Kira. 3 weeks ago, I was just like you. Convinced I was wolfless. Relegated to nothing. Treated like an embarrassment by my pack. I stopped directly in front of him. Except I wasn't wolfless. I was suppressed. Deliberately poisoned for years to keep me from shifting. Understanding dawned in his eyes. Then denial. No. I'm really wolfless. The doctors said. The doctors were told what to say, Jonathan said, his voice heavy with regret. Thomas, I'm so sorry. I should have told you years ago, should have found a way to fight them, but I was weak and scared and— You're suppressed, I said firmly. Not broken. Not defective. Suppressed. And we're here to fix it. Thomas's legs gave out. He caught himself on the counter, staring at me with an expression that cycled through hope, disbelief, rage, and back to hope. I have a wolf? His voice cracked. All this time, I have a wolf? You have a wolf, I confirmed. And we're going to set her free. Him, Thomas whispered. Set him free. I've always imagined my wolf is male. strong and protective and everything I couldn't be. Then him, I agreed. We'll set him free, Thomas, I promise. Dr. Chen stepped forward with her medical bag. I need to run tests, confirm the suppressants, start treatment. Thomas, is there somewhere private we can work? Jonathan immediately offered a room, and we moved as a group. Thomas, Dr. Chen, Jonathan, Elena, and me. Damien and Garrett stayed behind to question other pack members, gathering evidence about Silvercrest's operation. Dr. Chen drew blood, while Thomas sat rigid with tension. The tests will take an hour to process, but based on symptoms, delayed shift, chronic fatigue, omega level strength, despite alpha bloodline, I'm confident we'll find high suppressant levels. How long until I can shift? Thomas asked, his voice desperate. Days? Weeks? With intensive treatment? 2 to 3 weeks. Your first shift should happen by the next full moon. Doctor. Chen's expression was kind. I know that feels like forever. But Thomas, you've waited years, a few more weeks to do this safely. Is worth it, he finished, nodding rapidly. Yes. Okay. What do I do? While Dr. Chen started the first treatment, Elena pulled me aside. There are 2 more suppressed wolves in this pack, she said quietly. Female, both in their 20s. One is the daughter of Silvercrest's spy. Here she's being suppressed so her mother stays loyal. The other is a widow whose mate died fighting Silvercrest wolves. They're suppressing her, so she can't challenge their authority. Where are they? I'll take you. We found the first woman, Rachel, working in the pack's garden. She looked up as we approached, and immediately her expression shuddered. Fear, instantly controlled. Luna Queen, she said carefully. How can I help you? By telling me the truth. I sat on the garden wall, deliberately casual. Your mother works for Silvercrest. They're suppressing you to keep her in line. When did it start? Rachel's carefully blank expression cracked. How did you? I know because I lived it. Different details, same crime. I met her eyes. We're here to help, Rachel. To stop the suppressants. To free your wolf. But I need you to trust me. She stared at me for a long moment. Then her shoulders sagged. I'm 26. I should have shifted 8 years ago. But Silvercrest told my mother told her if she didn't spy for them, they'd kill me. So she spies, and they dose my food. And I pretend I don't know what's happening because, if I cause problems, they'll kill us both. Not anymore, I said firmly. As of right now, you're under Luna Queen protection. Anyone who touches you answers to me, my mother, will also be protected. Silvercrest's reign of terror ends here, Rachel. Today. We found the second woman, Margaret, in the packhouse library. She was older, maybe 30, with the quiet strength of someone who'd survived tremendous loss. She knew why we were there before we spoke. Thomas already told me, she said quietly. Mind-linked while you were examining him, the wolfless boy who finally learned he's not broken. Her smile was sad. I'm suppressed too. Have been for 3 years, since my mate died fighting Silvercrest's wolves. They claimed it was an accident during training, but he was investigating their activities, getting too close to the truth, so they killed him and started dosing me so I couldn't challenge their version of events. Why didn't you leave? Elena asked gently. And go where? I'm a widowed, wolfless Omega. No pack would take me. At least here, I have shelter and work. Margaret's voice was matter of fact, without self-pity. It's not much of a life, but it's survival. You deserve more than survival, I said. You deserve justice, freedom, the chance to meet your wolf. I stopped believing in deserving things years ago. But her eyes shone with desperate hope. Is it really possible? Can you actually fix this? Yes, I said. I'm living proof. And you will be too. By sunset, we had all 3 suppressed wolves under Dr. Chen's care. Blood tests confirmed high levels of suppressants in all cases. Treatment protocols were established. Silvercrest's spy, Rachel's mother, was questioned by Garrett, and faced with the evidence and promise of protection, confessed everything. Names, dates, financial transactions, supply chains for the suppressants, communication methods with Silvercrest, everything we needed to build an ironclad case. This is bigger than we thought, Damien said as we reviewed the evidence that evening. Silvercrest isn't just suppressing rivals and packs they control. They're creating a network. Spies, suppressants, leverage. They're building an empire through systematic abuse. How many packs? I asked, based on Rachel's mother's testimony. At least 12. Probably more. His expression was grim. This isn't just about 17 suppressed wolves, Kira. This could be dozens. Maybe more. The weight of it settled over me. Dozens of wolves like me, like Thomas, like Rachel and Margaret, living half-lives, convinced they were broken, while someone systematically stole their wolves from them. Then we keep going, I said. One pack at a time, one wolf at a time, until we find them all. This is going to make Silvercrest desperate, Elena warned. They'll fight back, hard. Let them, I said, and felt my white wolf stir in agreement. I'm done being scared of powerful people who hurt the weak. Time they learned what happens when the weak become strong. Damien's hand found mine, the bond pulsing with pride and love and fierce protectiveness. That's my Luna Queen. Our Luna Queen. I corrected through the bond. This isn't just me. It's all of us. We stayed in Riverside for 3 days, long enough to establish security, ensure the suppressed wolves were protected, and set up communication channels so Jonathan could report any Silvercrest retaliation. Thomas's first treatment made him violently ill, just like mine had. I sat with him through the worst of it, holding his hand while he vomited and shook. Does it get easier? He gasped between bouts. No, I said honestly, but it gets worth it. When you shift for the first time, when you meet your wolf, when you feel that freedom, all of this becomes worth it. Tell me about it, he begged. Your first shift. What was it like? So I did. I told him about the pain and the power, about running under the full moon with Damien's wolf beside me, about the joy of finally being whole. That's going to be me, he said, his voice full of wonder despite his pain. In 3 weeks, that's going to be me. Yes, I promised. That's going to be you. On our last morning in Riverside, Jonathan gathered his pack to make an announcement. Silvercrest's control over us ends today, he declared, his voice stronger than I'd heard it. We've been living in fear for 20 years, letting them dictate our choices, hurt our packmates, steal our wolves, no more. As of this moment, Riverside Pack stands with the Alpha King and Luna Queen. We stand against suppressants. We stand for freedom. The pack erupted in howls, some celebratory, some uncertain, but all loud, all together. Rachel approached me as we were preparing to leave. Thank you, she said simply. For seeing us. For caring. For fighting. Thank you for trusting me. I replied. For being brave enough to tell the truth. You made it safe to tell the truth. That's the gift. She hesitated, then added. They're going to come for you, you know, Silvercrest. They can't let you continue exposing their operation. You're too dangerous to them. I know. And you're going anyway. Every single day until this is over. Her smile was fierce and approving. Then I'm glad you're our Luna Queen. The kingdom needs someone too stubborn to quit. As we drove away from Riverside territory, I watched through the rear window until the pack house disappeared from view. 1 pack investigated. 3 suppressed wolves found and being treated. Silvercrest's operation partially exposed, and at least 11 more packs to go. You're quiet, Damien observed. I'm thinking about how many wolves we haven't found yet. How many are still suffering because they don't know we're coming. I turned to face him. We need to move faster. Find them all before Silvercrest can cover their tracks or hurt more people. Agreed. Garrett's already planning the next investigation, Lakewood Pack. 3 days from now. Damien's expression was serious. But Kira, Elena was right. Silvercrest is going to retaliate. Probably soon. You need to be prepared for that. I am prepared. Are you prepared to kill? His question was blunt. Because that's where this is heading. When Silvercrest comes for you, and they will, it won't be polite political maneuvering. It'll be assassination attempts, ambushes, violence. You need to be ready to defend yourself with lethal force. I thought about Vanessa and Serena. About how I'd chosen exile over death for them. About mercy and justice, and the difference between the two. If someone tries to kill me, I'll kill them first. I said slowly. Not because I want to, but because I can't help anyone if I'm dead. And there are too many wolves depending on me now to let my hesitation get me killed. Good answer. He squeezed my hand. I don't want you to become someone who kills easily. But I need you to survive. The kingdom needs you to survive. Then I'll survive. I looked down at our joined hands, felt the bond humming between us. I have too much to live for now to let them take it away. His kiss was fierce and claiming, and through the bond, I felt his love and fear and determination all tangled together. We'd saved 3 wolves today, but the war with Silvercrest was just beginning. Chapter 9. Blood and Silver. We didn't make it back to the palace. The attack came on the forest road, 3 miles from the border of royal territory. One moment we were driving in comfortable silence, the next, our convoy screeched to a halt, as trees fell across the road, deliberately cut, not natural. Ambush! Garrett roared, already shifting. Wolves poured from the forest, at least 30 of them, all bearing the silver crescent mark of Silvercrest Pack. They moved with military precision, surrounding both vehicles before we could react. Damien's hand shot out, keeping me in my seat. Stay in the vehicle. Bulletproof glass, reinforced frame. You're safer. An explosion cut him off. The second vehicle, Elena's vehicle, erupted in flames. No! I screamed. Through the smoke and fire, I saw shapes moving. Elena and her wolves, thrown clear of the blast, injured but alive. Silvercrest wolves closing in for the kill. Damien shifted immediately, his massive black wolf smashing through the windshield to engage the attackers. Our guards followed, and suddenly the peaceful forest road became a battlefield. I sat frozen for maybe 3 seconds, watching through the windows as wolves tore into each other. Seeing Elena struggle to her feet, blood streaming from a head wound, as 2 Silvercrest wolves advanced on her. Stay safe, Damien's voice through the bond, distant and strained. He was already fighting, already bleeding. Don't leave the vehicle. But Elena was going to die. And Rachel's mother was in that burning vehicle, probably dead already. And I was sitting here safe, while people who'd trusted me were dying. No more hiding. No more being protected while others fought my battles. I kicked open the door and shifted. The change was faster than it had ever been, maybe 5 seconds of pain before I landed on 4 white paws. My wolf surged forward, eager and furious. These wolves had tried to kill our pack. Our allies. They would pay. I launched myself at the nearest Silvercrest wolf, a large male about to finish off one of our guards. He didn't see me coming until I hit him from the side, all my weight and momentum driving him into a tree. My jaws found his throat before he could recover. The taste of blood was copper and wrong, but I didn't let go until he stopped moving. Kira, Damien's voice in my mind was frantic. What are you? Get back to behind you. I spun just in time to see another Silvercrest wolf leaping for me. I dodged, but not fast enough. Claws raked across my shoulder, tearing through fur and skin. Pain exploded white hot, but my wolf pushed through it. We were hurt but not down. Not weak, never weak again. I circled my attacker, a female with scars across her muzzle and cold, calculating eyes. She was experienced, trained. I was 3 weeks old as a wolf. Use your speed. Garrett's voice cut through my panic. He was fighting 3 wolves at once but still managing to coach me. You're smaller, faster. Don't try to overpower her. Outmaneuver her. The female lunged. I darted left, letting her momentum carry her past me, then slashed at her exposed flank. Not a killing blow, but enough to hurt. To slow her down. She whirled with a snarl, and I saw murder in her eyes. She's going to feint left, then strike right, my wolf whispered. Instincts I didn't know I had, suddenly sharp and clear. The female feinted left. I was already moving right, meeting her strike with my own. My jaws closed on her foreleg, and I heard the bone snap. She screamed a wolf's scream, high and agonized, and I used her pain to my advantage, going for her throat. This time, I didn't hesitate. The female went limp. I released her and immediately searched for the next threat. The battlefield was chaos. Bodies, some moving, some not. Blood staining the earth. The smell of smoke and death and fear. Elena was down, not moving. One of our guards was clearly dead, his throat torn out. Garrett was bleeding from multiple wounds but still fighting. Damien. I found him through the bond, fighting at the center of the ambush against 5 wolves at once. His black fur was matted with blood, his and theirs. He was strong, experienced, deadly. But 5 against 1, even for an alpha king, was too many. I ran toward him, my white wolf weaving through the fighting. A silver crest wolf tried to intercept me. I didn't slow down, just ducked under his lunge and kept running. I'm coming, I sent through the bond. No! Kira. Get back. I hit the group surrounding Damien like a white missile, scattering them. My jaws found the nearest throat. Killed, without thinking, without hesitating. 2 wolves down. 3 still standing. Damien rallied, his alpha power radiating out in waves that made even me want to submit. One of the remaining wolves actually did submit, dropping to the ground with his throat exposed. The other 2 attacked together, coordinated. But now it was 2 against 2, and Damien and I moved like we'd been fighting together for years. The bond connected us, let us anticipate each other's moves. When I went left, he went right. When he struck high, I struck low. We were brutal, efficient, deadly. Within 30 seconds, both Silver Crest wolves were dead or dying. Damien shifted back to human immediately, his eyes wild as he grabbed my face, my wolf's face between his hands. Are you hurt? Let me see your shoulder. I shifted back, gasping as the wound translated to my human form. A deep gash across my left shoulder, bleeding freely. I'm okay, I managed. Elena. I'll check Elena. You need. He looked around desperately for something to stop the bleeding. Your Majesty. One of the guards who was still standing shouted. We have survivors. 2 Silver Crest wolves, injured but alive. Secure them, Damien ordered, his voice hard. Then softer, to me. Kira, you need Dr. Chen. This wound will keep for 5 minutes. I pushed to my feet, ignoring the way the world tilted. Elena first. We found her unconscious but breathing, a massive head wound bleeding sluggishly. 2 of her rogues were dead, including Rachel's mother. The 3rd was badly burned but alive. Dr. Chen's vehicle screeched to a halt on the road she'd been traveling separately, arriving just after the attack ended. She took one look at the carnage and went into pure professional mode. Triage, she snapped. Who's critical? Elena, I said. Head wound, unconscious. The guard over there, Garrett added, limping over. Gut wound, losing blood fast. And the Luna Queen, Damien said firmly. Shoulder wound, deep. I'm fine. You're bleeding, he interrupted. You're going into shock. Sit down before you fall down. Dr. Chen worked with ruthless efficiency, stabilizing the critical cases first. I watched her save Elena's life with quick, precise medical interventions. Watched her try to save the guard with the gut wound, watched him die anyway despite her best efforts. 3 of ours dead. 7 wounded. Against 30 Silver Crest wolves, and we'd killed or wounded at least 20 of them. We'd won. It didn't feel like winning. Dr. Chen finally got to me, cleaning and stitching the shoulder wound with steady hands. You're lucky, she said. Another inch to the right, and this would have hit the major artery. You'd have bled out in minutes. Lucky, I repeated numbly. Damien sat beside me, his hand finding mine. Through the bond, I felt his terror, the fear he'd felt when he saw me shift and enter the battle. The pride when I'd fought well, the rage at Silver Crest for daring to target us. You disobeyed me, he said quietly. Yes. You left the vehicle when I told you to stay safe. Yes. You could have died. So could Elena. So could you. I met his eyes. I'm not going to hide while people die for me, Damien. I can't. My wolf won't let me. I won't let me. His jaw clenched, working through emotions I could feel through the bond. Anger, fear, pride, frustration, love. You saved my life, he said finally. Those 5 wolves, I could have taken them, but I would have been badly hurt. You turned the tide. His hand squeezed mine. But Kira, seeing you in combat, seeing you bleed, I've never been so terrified in my life. Welcome to how I felt watching you fight 5 against 1. His laugh was strained. Point taken. We're both going to drive each other insane with worry, aren't we? Probably. He pulled me against his chest, careful of my injured shoulder, and I felt him shaking. I can't lose you. The bond, if something happened to you. Nothing happened. I'm here. We're both here. I pulled back to look at him. But Damien, this is who I am now. I'm not going to stay safe in the palace while you fight my battles. If you can't accept that, I can accept it, he interrupted. I don't like it. It terrifies me. But I can accept it. His forehead pressed against mine. Just promise me you'll be careful, that you'll train harder with Garrett, that you won't take stupid risks. I promise to be as careful as the situation allows. That's the best I can offer. I'll take it. Garrett approached, covered in blood and looking grim. The 2 survivors are secured. Both are low-level soldiers, probably don't know much, but one of them is talking. His expression was dark. Your Majesty, Luna Queen, you need to hear this. We followed him to where 2 silver crest wolves sat bound and bleeding. One was unconscious. The other was a young male, maybe 25, with terror in his eyes. Tell them what you told me, Garrett ordered. The young wolf swallowed hard. The Alpha Marcus of Silvercrest, he ordered this personally. Said the white wolf was too dangerous to let live. That she'd exposed Ashwood, was investigating Riverside, would eventually take down the whole operation. He looked at me with something like awe and fear. He put a bounty on you. $500,000 to whoever brings him your head. The words landed like stones in water, sending ripples through my mind. $500,000. For my death. How many wolves are hunting me? I asked, my voice steady despite the ice in my veins. Don't know exact numbers. But Alpha Marcus sent the word out to every pack under Silvercrest's influence. At least 12 packs. Hundreds of wolves. The young male's voice shook. You humiliated them, Luna Queen. Proved their suppressants could be exposed. They need you dead before you unravel everything they've built. Then they're going to be disappointed, I said coldly. Because I'm not dying. I'm just getting started. There's more, the wolf continued. The suppressant operation, it's not just about power, it's about territory. Silvercrest has been systematically weakening rival packs, then absorbing them when they're vulnerable. They've grown from 50 wolves 20 years ago to over 300 now. They're building an empire. And they need the suppressed wolves to stay suppressed, or their victims might fight back. 300 wolves. A private army, essentially. All loyal to an alpha who saw suppressants as a tool for expansion. We're going to need reinforcements, Garrett said quietly. If Silvercrest decides to attack in force, they won't. Elena said. We all turned. She was conscious, sitting up despite Dr. Chen's protests, one hand pressed to the bandage on her head. They won't attack in force, she repeated, her voice weak but certain. Because that would be open war. The council would have to intervene. Other packs would choose sides. Alpha Marcus is cruel and ambitious, but he's not stupid. He'll keep using assassins, bounties, accidents, plausible deniability. The kind of attacks the council can't definitively blame on Silvercrest. So, we're going to be looking over our shoulders constantly, I said. Until we take down their operation completely. Yes. Elena's eyes met mine. I'm sorry, Kira. I pulled you into this war when you've barely learned to be a wolf. But nothing, I interrupted. You didn't pull me into anything. I chose this. I choose this. Every single day until it's done. I turned to Damien. We continue the investigation. We find every suppressed wolf. We build our case against Silvercrest until it's so airtight that even the council has to act. And if they send assassins, I look down at my blood-stained hands. We kill them and keep moving. That's going to take weeks, Damien said. Maybe months. Can you live like that? Constantly in danger? I thought about Thomas, waiting in Riverside for his first shift. About Rachel and Margaret, just beginning treatment. About the dozens of other suppressed wolves we hadn't found yet. About the girl I'd been 3 weeks ago, believing she was worthless. I can live like that, I said, because the alternative is leaving those wolves trapped. And I won't do it. I can't. Damien studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Then we continue. But with increased security, more guards, better intelligence. We don't give Silvercrest another clean shot. Agreed. We spent the next hour cleaning up the battlefield, securing the bodies, tending the wounded. By the time we finally reached the palace, it was well past midnight. I was exhausted, in pain, and covered in blood, some mine, some not. News of the attack had already spread. The palace was on high alert. Guards doubled at every entrance. Council members were demanding emergency meetings. Other alphas were reaching out, some offering support, others questioning whether the investigation was worth the cost. I barely made it to our rooms before collapsing. Damien caught me, lifting me into his arms and carrying me to the bathroom. He ran a bath while I sat on the edge of the tub, too tired to even be self-conscious about my nakedness. He cleaned the blood from my skin with gentle hands, careful of my stitched shoulder. His touch was reverent, almost worshipful. "I thought I'd lost you," he said quietly. "When I saw you fighting that scarred female. When her claws caught your shoulder." For a moment, the bond went quiet, and I thought. His voice broke. "I'm okay." I touched his face, drawing his eyes to mine. "We're okay. We won, Damien. We survived, this time. But there will be more attacks. More battles. More times when I have to watch you bleed and fight." And he stopped, taking a shaky breath. I knew being mated to a warrior Luna Queen would be difficult. I didn't know it would be this terrifying. "Would you rather I stayed safe in the palace?" "Yes. No. I don't know." He laughed bitterly. "I'm proud of you, terrified for you, in awe of your strength, furious at your recklessness. I'm feeling 10 things at once and can't sort any of them out." "That's the mate bond," I said gently. "You feel everything I feel, amplified by your own emotions. It's overwhelming. How are you so calm?" "I'm not. I'm shaking. I'm terrified. I killed 3 wolves today, Damien. Took 3 lives without hesitation." My voice cracked. "But I can't fall apart. Not yet. Too many people depending on me." He pulled me into his arms, both of us wet and exhausted and traumatized. "You can fall apart with me. That's what mates are for. You hold me up, I hold you up. We take turns being strong." So I let myself break. Let the tears come, the shaking, the horror of what I'd done and what had almost happened. Let myself feel all of it. The fear and rage and grief and guilt. And Damien held me through it, strong and steady, our bond keeping me anchored when I wanted to drift away. Eventually, the tears stopped, the shaking subsided. I was hollowed out but calmer. "Better?" Damien asked. "No. But more honest." I pulled back to look at him. "Silvercrest wants me dead. There's a bounty on my head. Hundreds of wolves hunting me." "Yes." "And we're going to continue the investigation anyway." "Yes." "We're probably going to have to fight our way through multiple assassination attempts." "Yes." "And at the end of it, we'll likely have to face Alpha Marcus himself in some kind of confrontation." "Almost certainly." I took a deep breath. "Okay. Then tomorrow, I train harder. I get faster, stronger, more lethal. I learn everything Garrett can teach me, because the next time Silvercrest comes for me..." My voice hardened. "I want them to regret it." Damien's smile was fierce and proud. "That's my Luna Queen." We finally made it to bed as dawn broke. I expected nightmares, expected to see the faces of the wolves I'd killed, to relive the terror of the battle. Instead, I slept dreamlessly, held safe in my mate's arms. When I woke, the sun was high, and someone was pounding on our door. Damien groaned, pulling me closer. "Go away. The Luna Queen is recovering from assassination attempts and needs rest." "Your Majesty." Garrett's voice, urgent. "We have a situation. One of the suppressed wolves from Riverside just arrived at the palace. Thomas Reed. He says Silvercrest is mobilizing for an attack on Riverside. They're planning to kill Jonathan and absorb the pack before we can stop them." I was out of bed and moving before Garrett finished speaking, ignoring my body's protests and the pull of stitches in my shoulder. "How long do we have?" Damien called, already pulling on clothes. "Thomas says the attack is planned for tonight. We have maybe 12 hours. 12 hours. To prepare a defense, to get back to Riverside, to stop Silvercrest from destroying the pack we'd just freed. I met Damien's eyes across the room, saw my own determination reflected back. Gear up, I said. We're going back to war. Chapter 10. The White Wolf Rises. Thomas Reed stood in the war room, exhausted and terrified, but his eyes blazed with determination. They're coming tonight, he said, spreading a hand-drawn map of Riverside territory on the table. 50 Silvercrest wolves, led by Alpha Marcus himself. They plan to kill my uncle, claim the pack failed to meet treaty obligations, and absorb us before dawn. How do you know this? Garrett demanded. Because they're not subtle anymore. They don't care who knows. Thomas's voice shook with rage. After you left, Silvercrest sent an emissary. Told my uncle he had 24 hours to either execute the 3 traitors, me, Rachel and Margaret, or face pack dissolution. When Uncle Jonathan refused, they declared him in breach of treaty. That's not legal, Damien said flatly. The council has to approve pack dissolutions. They're counting on it being over before the council can convene. Quick strike, overwhelming force, done deal by morning. Thomas looked at me. They're also offering an additional bounty, $1 million to whoever brings them the White Wolf's head during the battle. $1 million. They really wanted me dead. How did you get here? I asked. Ran. Shifted for the first time 3 hours ago. The room went silent. You shifted? Dr. Chen breathed. But the treatments you should need at least 2 more weeks. I got angry, Thomas said simply. Heard them threatening my uncle, threatening my pack, and my wolf just came, broke through whatever was left of the suppressants. He was furious and powerful and ready to fight. His smile was fierce. So I ran here. 20 miles in wolf form. My first run. And I've never felt so alive. What's your wolf? Garrett asked, professional interest cutting through the urgency. Brown, with black markings. Large, bigger than I expected. Strong. Thomas's expression turned grim. But I'm one newly shifted wolf. Riverside has 40 pack members, maybe 20 who can fight. Against 50 trained Silvercrest warriors? We'll be slaughtered. Not if we get there first, Damien said. He turned to Garrett. How many warriors can we mobilize? And he checked the time. 10 hours. Fully combat ready? 30, maybe 35. The rest are recovering from yesterday's ambush or on other assignments. Garrett studied the map. That gives us roughly 65 fighters total against their 50. Better odds, but not overwhelming. We have something they don't, I said quietly. Everyone looked at me. We have rage. Righteous. Justified rage. Silvercrest's wolves are following orders, fighting for money or fear. Our wolves? We're fighting for pack. For family. For wolves who've been suppressed and abused. That's stronger than any bounty. The Luna Queen makes a good point, Elena said. She'd insisted on attending despite Dr. Chen's objections, her head still bandaged. I know Silvercrest's tactics. They rely on shock and overwhelming force. If we can hold them off long enough, make the fight costly enough, they'll retreat. Alpha Marcus won't risk losing too many wolves for one small pack. Then we make it costly, Damien said. His voice carried alpha command, and every wolf in the room straightened. We defend Riverside, we protect Jonathan's pack, and we send Silvercrest a message. The suppression stops now. The next hours were a blur of preparation. Garrett drilled us on defensive tactics. Riverside's territory had natural choke points, narrow passages between hills where large groups would have to bottleneck. We'd use those to our advantage. Dr. Chen provided combat medical kits and emergency supplies. Try not to get yourselves killed, she said dryly. I'm running low on stitching thread. I trained with Garrett for 2 solid hours, practicing quick shifts until I could do it in under 10 seconds. Practiced killing strikes, defensive maneuvers, how to fight multiple opponents. You're good, Garrett admitted grudgingly. Raw, but good. Your instincts are sharp. Trust them tonight. Damien and I stole 20 minutes alone in our rooms before departure. No words, just holding each other, feeling the bond pulse between us, memorizing the feel of being safe. If something happens, I started. Nothing will happen, he interrupted firmly. But if it does? Kira. He pulled back to look at me. If something happens to either of us tonight, the bond will break the survivor. That's what mate bonds do. So we both survive. That's not negotiable. Deal. We arrived at Riverside as the sun began setting. Jonathan had his pack fortified wolves at every entrance. The vulnerable members secured in the pack house's reinforced basement. Thomas reunited with his uncle in a fierce embrace. You shifted, Jonathan said, wonder and pride clear in his voice. Your mother would be so proud. I shifted to protect my pack, Thomas replied. Now let's make sure we still have a pack to protect. We positioned our forces carefully. Damien and his elite guards at the main entrance, the most likely point of attack. Garrett and half the warriors at the western choke point. Jonathan and his strongest fighters at the eastern approach. And me? I was the wild card. White wolves are legend for a reason. Elena had explained while we planned. They're meant to be seen. To inspire. To turn the tide of battles. She'd met my eyes seriously. You're not just a fighter tonight, Kira. You're a symbol. The suppressed wolf who rose up. Silvercrest fears you, because you represent everything they're trying to destroy. Use that. So I positioned myself centrally, where I could reinforce any position that faltered, where every wolf, ours and theirs, would see me. The white wolf who refused to die. We didn't have to wait long. Silvercrest attacked at full dark, and they came hard. 50 wolves, just as Thomas predicted, led by a massive gray wolf that could only be Alpha Marcus. They hit the main entrance, first standard Alpha tactics. Go for the strongest point. Damien met them with savage fury, his black wolf tearing through their front lines. Our guards fought with precision, working as a unit. But Silvercrest had numbers and training, and the desperation of wolves fighting for their empire. The battle was brutal from the start. I watched from my position, every instinct screaming to join Damien. But Elena was right, I was more valuable as a mobile force. As a symbol, 10 Silvercrest wolves broke through the main line, heading for the pack house. For the vulnerable wolves inside, I intercepted them. My white wolf crashed into their formation, scattering them. They recognized me immediately, saw the white fur, and knew exactly who I was. The bounty, one of them howled. Kill the white wolf. They came at me as a coordinated unit. 10 against 1. Bad odds. I'd faced worse. The first wolf lunged. I dodged, my jaws finding his throat. Dead before he hit the ground. 9. 2 attacked together from different angles. I went low, rolling under one, using his momentum against him to slam him into his companion. While they were tangled, I struck fast, precise, lethal. 7. The remaining wolves hesitated, reassessing. I was supposed to be newly shifted, inexperienced. I'd just killed 3 of them in under 30 seconds. Come on, my wolf growled. Who's next? They charged together, all 7 at once. This time, I wasn't alone. Thomas's brown wolf hit them from the side, his first real combat. He was clumsy but powerful, his rage at what Silvercrest had done to him, lending him strength. Together, we tore through them. By the time the dust settled, all 10 were down. Thomas and I stood among the bodies, both bleeding but alive. Thank you, he sent through pack bonds. Thank you, I sent back. First battle? And hopefully last. I hate fighting. Same. But we're good at it. Terrifying thought. At the main entrance, Damien was being pressed hard. Silvercrest had committed 30 wolves to that front, overwhelming force meant to break through quickly. They hadn't counted on the Alpha King being basically unstoppable. Damien fought like a demon, his alpha power radiating in waves that made even trained warriors hesitate. Garrett and his unit reinforced from the flank, catching Silvercrest in a pincer. The battle turned into a meat grinder. Then I saw him. The massive gray wolf leading the charge. Alpha Marcus. He was huge, nearly as large as Damien, and moved with the confidence of a wolf who'd never lost a fight. His eyes locked on Damien, and I felt his intention through my own wolf's instincts. He wanted to kill the Alpha King. Decapitate our leadership and scatter our forces. Behind you, I sent to Damien through the bond. He spun just in time to meet Marcus's charge. The two alphas collided with a sound like thunder, all teeth and claws and raw power. They were evenly matched. Damien was younger, faster, but Marcus was experienced, ruthless, willing to fight dirty. I ran toward them, but 10 more Silvercrest wolves blocked my path, not attacking, just blocking, keeping me from interfering. "The white wolf is ours," their leader snarled, shifting to human. $1 million, boys. Let's collect. 10 against 1. Again. "I'm getting really tired of these odds," my wolf muttered. Then, Elena's voice cut through the chaos. "She's not alone." Elena and her surviving rogues hit the blocking force from behind. Suddenly it was 10 against 6, much better odds. I didn't wait. I shifted to human, needing speed more than strength. "Damien needs help," I shouted to Garrett. He nodded, breaking off from his fight to rally 3 guards. Together, they charged toward where Damien and Marcus were locked in savage combat. I shifted back to wolf and followed, dodging through the battlefield. Bodies everywhere, some moving, some not. The smell of blood thick enough to choke on. Damien was losing, not because he was weaker, but because Marcus had brought backup. 3 of his personal guards had joined the fight, all attacking Damien at once while Marcus recovered. 4 against 1. Garrett and the guards engaged Marcus's wolves, evening it to 4 on 4. But Damien was already badly hurt, blood matting his black fur. I hit Marcus from the side with everything I had. We tumbled across the ground in a tangle of fur and teeth. He was bigger, heavier, stronger. But I was faster, more desperate, and absolutely done with alphas who hurt wolves weaker than themselves. "You suppressed innocent wolves," I snarled through whatever bond existed between fighting wolves. "Stole their wolves, destroyed their lives. For what? Power? Territory? For survival," he shot back. "The weak deserve to be controlled. That's nature. That's abuse." We clashed again, and this time I felt my wolf surge with power I didn't know I had. White light exploded around me, not the golden light of a mate bond, but silver, pure, cold, absolute, the blessing of the moon goddess. Every wolf on the battlefield felt it, felt the presence of something ancient and powerful declaring its favor. Marcus froze. Actually froze, his eyes wide with shock, and for the first time fear. "A blessed white wolf," he breathed. "The prophecy." I didn't let him finish. My jaws closed on his throat, and I felt his life pulse beneath my teeth. One bite would end it. Would kill an alpha and potentially start a war between packs. "Do it," my wolf urged. "He's evil. He hurts the weak. End him." I wanted to. Moon goddess. I wanted to. But I thought about mercy. About choosing to be better than my enemies. About the difference between justice and vengeance. I released his throat but kept him pinned. "Yield," I growled. "Call off your wolves and yield, or I end you right here." Marcus stared up at me, his eyes full of hate and fear and grudging respect. "You won't kill me," he said. "You're too soft, too merciful. Try me." Silver light pulsed again, and I felt power flowing through me. Power I didn't understand but could access. The power of a blessed white wolf. Marcus felt it too. Felt how close to death he actually was. "Stand down," he howled. "Silvercrest, stand down." The battlefield went still. Silvercrest wolves hesitated, looking to their alpha. Saw him pinned beneath a white wolf, glowing with divine power. Saw their attack had failed. One by one, they began backing away. "This isn't over," Marcus snarled up at me. "The council will hear about this. You attacked us. You attacked Riverside," I corrected coldly. "Under false treaty violations. There are witnesses, evidence. You came here to commit murder and pack absorption. The council will hear about that." I released him and stepped back, my white fur still glowing faintly with silver light. Marcus stood slowly, bleeding and beaten and humiliated, but alive. "You should have killed me," he said quietly. "I won't make that mistake twice." "Then let this be a lesson," I replied. "The suppressed wolves aren't powerless anymore. We're organized, we're protected, and we have teeth." I bared my fangs. "Come for us again, and mercy won't be an option." He shifted to human, standing naked and bloody in the moonlight. "The council will hear about the white wolf who attacked an alpha," he said. "They'll investigate your so-called evidence. They'll question whether you're the hero you pretend to be. Let them question. My evidence is solid. My cause is just, and I'm not afraid of the truth." I shifted to human as well, meeting his eyes. "But you should be. Because I'm going to expose every pack using suppressants. I'm going to free every trapped wolf. And I'm going to make sure everyone knows what Silvercrest has been doing for 20 years. If Kira's journey from suppressed and powerless to Luna Queen and warrior inspires you, subscribe if you haven't, to join others who believe survivors can become champions. Because the ones who've suffered the most often fight the hardest for others." Marcus stared at me for a long moment. Then, incredibly, he laughed. "You really believe you can change things, don't you? One white wolf against an entire system." He shook his head. "You're naive, idealistic, doomed to fail, maybe, but I'm not alone." I gestured to the wolves around us. Damien, Garrett, Elena, Thomas, Jonathan, all standing ready to fight again if needed. We're an army of survivors, and we're not going away. Marcus gathered his wolves, what was left of them. They'd lost at least 15 in the battle. We'd lost 5, with many more wounded. Too many deaths. Too much blood. But we'd won. Silvercrest retreated into the night, carrying their wounded and dead. We watched them go, ready to fight again if they turned back. They didn't. When the last of them disappeared into the forest, the riverside wolves erupted in howls, victory, relief, grief, joy, all tangled together. I shifted back to wolf and added my voice to theirs. The white wolf's howl, clear and strong, declaring to the night and the moon goddess that we had survived, that we were strong, that the suppressed would be silent no more. The aftermath was brutal. We spent hours tending the wounded, mourning the dead, securing the territory in case Silvercrest decided to attack again. Dr. Chen arrived with medical supplies and more healers. She worked through the night, saving lives with grim determination. Thomas found me as dawn broke, sitting alone and staring at my blood-stained hands. "You saved us," he said quietly. "I killed for you," I replied. "That's not the same thing." "Maybe not. But I'm alive to start my real life because you were willing to fight." He sat beside me. "I shift now. In 3 weeks, Rachel and Margaret will too. Because you exposed the suppressants. Because you gave us hope. Because you were brave enough to stand up to the most powerful pack in the region and say, no more. It doesn't feel brave. It feels like survival. Sometimes they're the same thing." He bumped my shoulder gently. "Thank you, Luna Queen, for everything." After he left, Damien found me. He was covered in bandages, limping slightly, but alive, whole. He sat beside me without speaking, and we watched the sunrise together. "I almost lost you tonight," I said finally. "Same. I'm starting to understand why you hate watching me fight. Welcome to the club. It's terrible here." His hand found mine. "But Kira, what you did tonight, that silver light, that power." "I don't know what it was," I interrupted. "It just came. When I was fighting Marcus, I felt something awaken, something old and powerful, the blessing of a white wolf," Elena said, approaching quietly. "I've only read about it in old texts. When a white wolf fights for justice, for the protection of the weak, the moon goddess sometimes grants them additional power, a visible manifestation of her favor. So I'm what? Divinely blessed now?" "You always were," Damien said softly. "The moon goddess chose you, Kira. Chose you to survive the suppressants. Chose you to be my mate. Chose you to lead this fight. Tonight, she just made it visible." I didn't know what to say to that. We stayed in Riverside for 3 more days, helping them rebuild and fortify. The council sent investigators and were shocked to find not just evidence of Silvercrest's treaty violation, but testimony from dozens of witnesses about the suppressant operation. The case against Silvercrest was building. On the 3rd day, we received word from the palace. 6 more suppressed wolves had come forward from 3 different packs, emboldened by news of the battle. They wanted help. Wanted freedom. "The word is spreading," Damien said, reading the reports. "Wolves across the kingdom are hearing about the white wolf who fought for the suppressed. They're coming forward, asking for help. Then we help them, I said simply. All of them, however many there are. Over the next month, we investigated 8 more packs, found 23 more suppressed wolves, built an evidence file against Silvercrest so detailed, so damning, that even their political allies couldn't ignore it. Alpha Marcus was summoned before the council. The hearing happened on a cold morning in the council chambers. Every alpha in the region attended, along with representatives from dozens of packs. I testified. Told my story, the suppressants, the abuse, the years of believing I was broken. Told Thomas's story, Rachel's, Margaret's, all 23 wolves we'd found. Presented financial records, testimonies, physical evidence of the suppressant supply chain. By the time I finished, the chamber was silent. The evidence is overwhelming, Elder Thomas declared. Alpha Marcus, you stand accused of systematic use of illegal suppressants, conspiracy to commit pack absorption through fraud, and attempted murder of the Luna Queen. How do you plead? Marcus stood tall, defiant. The weak have always been controlled by the strong. That's nature, that's survival. I make no apology for ensuring my pack's prosperity. You destroyed innocent lives, I said, standing to face him. You stole wolves from children. You built your empire on the suffering of those who couldn't fight back. That's not strength, Alpha Marcus. That's cowardice. His eyes flashed with rage. You self-righteous. Enough. Damien's voice cut through the chamber like a blade. The Alpha King has heard sufficient evidence. Alpha Marcus, you are hereby stripped of your rank and territory. Silvercrest Pack will be dissolved and absorbed into neighboring packs under council supervision. You and your inner circle are exiled, effective immediately. You can't, the council must vote. The council voted while you were testifying, Elder Thomas said. Unanimous decision. Your crimes are too severe to ignore. He looked at Marcus with something like pity. You built an empire on suffering, Alpha. Now you'll learn what it's like to have nothing. Marcus was dragged from the chamber, screaming threats and curses. His wolves, the ones complicit in his crimes, were exiled with him. The innocent members of Silvercrest Pack were offered placement in other packs, or the chance to form a new pack, under different leadership. It was over. The suppressant operation was dismantled. The wolves we'd found were in treatment. Justice, messy and imperfect, had been served. I thought I'd feel triumphant. Instead, I just felt tired. 2 weeks later, the council passed the Suppressant Prevention Act. Mandatory testing, harsh penalties for use, protection for suppressed wolves who came forward. The law was nicknamed the White Wolf Law. I stood before the council as they announced it, wearing my Luna Queen crown and formal robes, and felt the weight of what we'd accomplished. You changed the kingdom, Elder Thomas said after the ceremony. In less than 2 months as Luna Queen, you've done what others couldn't do in decades. You should be proud. I'm grateful, I corrected. Grateful I survived. Grateful I had help. Grateful those wolves will have better lives now. Humility is an admirable quality in a leader. He smiled. But Kira, don't forget to take pride in your accomplishments. You earned this victory. Maybe I had. Maybe we all had, every wolf who'd suffered, survived, and chosen to fight back. That evening, Damien found me in the garden, staring at the moonflowers. Thinking about anything in particular? He asked, wrapping his arms around me from behind. About the girl I was 2 months ago. Banned from a mating ceremony. Convinced she was worthless. Alone. I leaned back against him. I wonder what she'd think if she could see me now. She'd probably think she's dreaming. Probably. I turned in his arms to face him. Thank you, for finding me that night. For seeing me when everyone else just looked through me. Thank you for being brave enough to be seen. His lips brushed mine. I have something for you. He pulled a small box from his pocket. Inside was a silver pendant, a wolf, howling at the moon, cast in white gold. For the white wolf who changed everything, he said softly. Who fought for the voiceless, who showed the kingdom what real strength looks like. I let him fasten it around my neck, the pendant settling over my heart. I love you, I said. The words came easily now. I love you, he replied. My mate, my Luna Queen, My impossible, stubborn, magnificent white wolf. We kissed under the moonflowers, the mate bond singing between us, and I felt complete. Not because I had power or rank or recognition, because I'd found myself, my strength, my purpose, because I'd survived. 6 months later, the ceremony was simple but meaningful. Thomas Reed stood in the center of the clearing, surrounded by his pack, and accepted the beta knot from his uncle. His wolf, strong and certain, now looked out through his eyes with pride. Rachel and Margaret stood nearby, both fully shifted, both thriving. Rachel had become the pack's lead strategist. Margaret was training young wolves in combat, all 3 of them whole, free, powerful. 47 suppressed wolves total had been found and treated across the kingdom. 47 lives reclaimed. 4 packs had been investigated and cleared of wrongdoing. 2 alphas had been removed for complicity. Silver Crest's 300 wolf empire had been dissolved. The innocent members integrated into new packs. The guilty exiled or imprisoned. The kingdom was changing, and I was changing with it. Ready? Damien asked, his hand on my slightly rounded stomach. 3 months pregnant. Dr. Chen had confirmed it last week. Our pup growing inside me. The white wolf's child. The next generation. I'm ready, I said. We walked into the ceremony together, and the gathered wolves bowed their heads. Not just in respect for their Alpha King and Luna Queen, in recognition, in gratitude, in solidarity, because we'd proven something important, that the broken could become whole, that the suppressed could become strong, that the wolfless girl everyone dismissed could become a queen who changed a kingdom. I'd been banned from my alpha's mating ceremony. Best thing that ever happened to me, because that's where my real life began. If Kira's transformation from forgotten to legendary, from victim to victor, from nothing to Luna Queen reminds you that your story isn't over, it's just beginning. Subscribe to join thousands who believe every wolf deserves to howl, because the ones they tried to silence often have the most powerful voices of all. The end is just the beginning. Your strength was always there. They just tried to make you forget it.